Eagle 98.1 Game Day is on.
Presented by Super Chevy. See your Super Chevy dealers of Baton Rouge.
This is LSU football.
Now they'll motion a receiver in Thomas, left to right. Here's the shotgun snap. Give it right back to Thomas. He'll try to go far side. Gets to the corner, leaps towards the end zone. He's in. Touchdown, Fighting Tigers.
Nussmeier in the pocket. Hit as he throws downfield. Anderson in the end zone. Center of the field. 28-yard touchdown. Fighting Tigers.
LSU football on Eagle 98.1, the flagship home of the Tigers. Tonight from Tiger Stadium, it's the LSU Tigers
And the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Now,
Here's Charles Santagriff and Matt Musso.
House's Market Corner of Burbank and Lee. Welcome to Eagle 98.1 Game Day. I'm Charles Santagriff along with Matt Musso and our entire staff. Tonight's ball game between the LSU Tigers and the Vanderbilt Commodores. Both teams come in with a record of 6-4. 3-3 in the Southeastern Conference. Last week, LSU lost to Florida 27-16 in Gainesville. And last week, Vanderbilt enjoyed a bye. Week before that, they lost to South Carolina 28-7. There ever been a game that in reality meant so little, but in perception meant so much? Well, that's what you have here. For the LSU Tigers, the reality is that there will be no SEC championship this year. There'll be no berth in the SEC championship game. There'll be no playoffs. When this season comes to an end, they're already bowl eligible. They will limp into a second-tier bowl that will, as the bowls have come to do, sort of resemble a glorified scrimmage after the opt-outs and the injury problems that you always have at that time of year. It's a coaching staff that is under fire, both for the results on the field and now scrambling to hold together a recruiting class as National Signing Date approaches a week from Wednesday. But the reality does not trump the perception at this point. LSU needs something good to happen, and they need it quite badly. For this team, a win wouldn't erase all of the things that have gone wrong in the last month, but it sure would create the impression that the walls are not falling in around Brian Kelly and this team. Is there still a want-to among the players? Is there still confidence in this coaching staff? Is there the ability to turn around on offense that suddenly can go up and down the field right up until the time it comes to score? Will a running quarterback once again be their undoing? And what of Tiger Stadium, the great monolith that was at its best for Alabama only to be greatly disappointed, has only one thing going for it tonight: fabulous weather here today. For Vanderbilt, the reality is that there'll be no SEC championship, there'll be no Southeastern Conference championship game berth, and there'll be no playoff. They are also bowl eligible, and we'll get into a bowl that will look a lot like the one that LSU goes to. But the perception at Vanderbilt is much different than the one at LSU, because this is one of the best seasons that Vanderbilt has had in the last 25 years. While LSU is trying to avoid a 4-game losing streak for the first time since 1999, Vanderbilt will look upon this season as the one that they beat Alabama, the one that they almost beat Texas, the one that did they beat LSU in Tiger Stadium? History will forget that this is one of LSU's poorer teams and that Alabama is not quite as good as they usually are. Vanderbilt could care less. They got a swashbuckling quarterback that can make plays. They've got a coach that believes in them. And right up until 2 weeks ago, they were riding quite a bit of momentum. By Vanderbilt standard, would be nothing better than the feather in the cap to put their hand on a victory here tonight in Tiger Stadium. And frankly, we don't know what kind of effort LSU is going to have tonight and what kind of focus, the reality, and the perception. That's what we're doing here today, Musso, as we get ready for this game that I would say anticlimactic, but it's got way too many underlying themes here for this just to be one of those, oh, well, this is the week LSU usually plays a rental-win in November. This time it's a conference game. And, oh, by the way, it's a conference game against a better-than-normal Vanderbilt team.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's like you said it. You usually play a rent-a-win, in this week. And I think when many people saw Vanderbilt come out on the schedule in this week, you thought it was going to be no different. They're pretty good, and you seem to be coming apart at the seams. I want to touch on what you said with the effort. Players only meeting this week, right, and that has so many negative connotations to it. I think, honestly, it can be a position of strength when you're looking for a player-led team, but we're going to see how much that player-led meeting and how that actually resonates with their teammates who spoke so highly.
Everybody at this point is listening with their eyes, so we'll know soon enough. We're here at Rouse's, your tailgating headquarters. You're heading into campus, and the weather is fabulous today. About the best tailgating weather that you could ask for. Stop on in and get your ice, get your soft drinks, get your wine, your spirits, your beer, and lots of food here, and all your tailgating supplies here at Rouse's, just a couple of miles off campus. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money.
98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Skull Session. Offense. Presented by Gulf Coast Bank. Gulf Coast Bank, the bank that cares about you. Now, from the LSU Sports Radio Network, here's Gordy Rush.
And our LeBear's countdown to kickoff about 4 hours and 50 minutes from right now. Florida holding the lead on Ole Miss, 24-17, with about 7.5 minutes to go in regulation. We'll keep you up to date on that one. All right, let's bring in Gordy Rush. We'll be on the sideline tonight. About as nice a November night as you could ask for, huh, Jay?
I'm happy to bring out a sweatshirt after all the rain that we've had, the heat of South Carolina and UCLA. I'm happy it'll be a little cool tonight in Tiger Stadium.
All right, so that's the one thing that we got going for is fabulous weather today. The rest of it, LSU is going to have to figure out. Gordy, I watched last week's game, and then I grabbed the box score before we started the post game, and it's not often that I'm just flabbergasted by what I see on the box score as to what I actually witnessed in the game. LSU had the ball for over 42 minutes. They ran 93 plays and somehow managed to only score 16 points. So let's start there. The red zone problems, and I want to call it red zone plus, because it seems like once they get over the 50-yard line, things start to happen and LSU starts to really hurt themselves in a variety of ways.
Yeah, you get more pressure packages. And look, I think here's what I think the defensive coordinators have figured out is one that LSU struggling to block some pressure fronts. And obviously at left guard with Dellinger being out, they've been able to attack that. And then the other part is if you're able to rattle Nussmeier, you can have some success. And the big thing is that LSU's receivers are struggling to, one, they're not going to beat you over the top. And number two, they're struggling to get a little bit of separation. And we've seen since the second half of the Texas A&M game, the Alabama game, and Florida was unique in a lot of different ways, but a lot of people have just been bringing pressure and playing man-to-man, no help, soft, 7 to 8 yards off the line of scrimmage, meaning that they can you can dig your heels in and break on the football because the ball's coming out. And LSU really hasn't won. They haven't had a remedy for that. And then you add in the fact there have been so many negative plays that LSU's had in those situations, and they just get into the red zone and they're not able to execute what they're doing down in the red zone. And all three of them have just kind of added to what's been this drought since the second half of the Texas A&M game.
I don't know if Brian Kelly was actually calling plays last week. We saw him with the flip chart in his hand. But he certainly seemed to have an awful lot of influence on how that game was called, because we saw more of a run-pass balance than we had at any point in a game this year. And even with the extended number of snaps, it was still a very balanced attack, Gordy. So you tell me about the operation of this and if you think this will work.
Yeah, I mean, that remains to be seen. What I did like was that I saw some plays out of the pistol. I think the problem, and you and I have done a lot of radio together, me and Musso not so much, so a little bit more of me, but I've always said offensive coordinators like driving a car, and it was really hard for the guy in the passenger seat to come drive it. And I think when you get, in the case of a head coach that's sitting next to you, I think that, it's like turn left, turn right, and all the above of that. And so is there one common thought that is coming out of it? And so I not that it can't work, but I'm wondering, what is the identity of this offense right now, right? And if there was a goal after watching Florida and being on the sidelines and seeing it, is how do we simplify things for Garrett Nussmeier? I think with this year and them having the helmet communication and going so far down in the play clock, and it seems like so many times trying to counterpunch what a defense is showing you. Look, how can we simplify things, do 7 to 12 things that we do really, really well, and make it easy for 13 back there? And that would be an overall broad stroke goal if it was me.
You're saying I think we're saying the same thing here. You're saying this is the 11th playing date. The things that don't work, you can throw out. You're no longer working on things. There's not the zone read's not fooling anybody. In fact, even the 4th and 1, if Nussmeier, it ended up being a shovel pass, but if he rides and pulls, he's going to be able to probably run halfway to Ocala last week, but they're not going to do that. So chuck that. I would be very limited in my deep shots to Chris Hilton because they've tried that and their success rate on it is 0. So that's another one that you can kind of throw out. And the runs out of the pistol, Gordy, seem to work a lot better when they've got pre-snap motion. And one of the problems that we've identified on the film is sometimes the play gets in so late that there's not time for pre-snap motion. So I'm all for expediting the process of getting the plays in and run what you run it well. The things that you run well, run that.
It's a great observation. Look, I get back to the South Alabama game, and nobody wants to talk about the South Alabama game because it was South Alabama, but LSU went tempo. And you go back and you look at Garrett Nussmeier in high school and what he ran and what he was comfortable with, and just the whole idea that you're going quick and the whole team, the offensive line included, is on their front foot. You're aggressive, and you're dictating pace to the defense. And I'm with you that a critique I would have is that we go too far into the play clock. There's too many substitution packages. And no offense to the linemen, but, you're asking a 320-pound lineman to sit there for 20 to 25 seconds on his heels, waiting for you to check a second time and slide the protection and all of that. Hey, how about we just, I'll go back to the conversation. You remember this in 2011 because Les Miles took an hour and a half to get ready after a post game. That I'm sitting there and I'm talking to Dana Holgerson, and they shared the same locker room. West Virginia was next door, and at the time, the OC Shannon Dawson, he's from Hammond. We sat down and talked for a while, and they were talking offensively, and we got into his offense. He said, Gordy, we basically run 7 plays, but we do it over and over again. I can do 6 things out of those 7 plays. I tried an 8th play, but it took too much time to implement. And it isn't the NFL. It's college football. So how can we simplify things, do something the kids can digest, and get it out there, and they run it over and over with confidence? And that's an overall theme for me. And like what you're saying there, they look comfortable. How about we get the play in? How about keep the same personnel package in for a series? And if you get to a specialty down, a 3rd and 1, then you sub, and don't have wholesale substitutions on that. And let's make it easy for 13 to throw. Because I think from the second half on, to me, it looks like his helmet's a little foggy right now. He's got too much on his plate, and he's trying to process too much.
Holgerson, by the way, called plays at Nebraska last week.
I saw his press conference. Why don't we get to go to that press conference? I mean, my gosh. They probably gave a Red Bull or Red Bull Light to everybody that attended. I mean, if that isn't off the cuff, why?
He was always entertaining. That's for sure. All right, Gordy. Vanderbilt defensively, I can't believe I'm asking this question, but you go ahead and give me a kind of a bird's eye view of what we're going to see out of the Commodores.
Look, I mean, Clark Lee is, he's running the defense now. He's the head coach. With what he's got, I think they played over their heads. They've been very opportunistic. They've turned, they've taken chances. They were really instrumental in the win over Alabama. That being said, it's a defense that you're going to have to keep the ball in front of you. You're going to have to earn it. And this is a defense that LSU should have their opportunity to move the football on. Better than your average day Vanderbilt, but this is nothing elite, So this isn't Texas A&M. It's certainly not the personnel group you saw against Alabama.
All right, we'll take a timeout here, and we'll come back. We'll flip sides, talk about the LSU defense and what they're going to do with Diego Pavia tonight. That's next here at Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the
98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day Skull Session Defense, presented by Edward Jones. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Now from the LSU Sports Radio Network, here's Gordy Rush.
A couple quick updates here as our LeBears countdown to kickoff, about 4 hours and 40 minutes. Florida holding a 24-17 lead, 3:22 to go. Ole Miss has got the ball in their own territory, facing a 3rd down and 5. This has been one of those days where Ole Miss has kind of played with their food a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Mr. I don't kick field goals and hand the ball to 300-pound guys at the goal line. Ole Miss is in real trouble here. They did pick up the 1st down. Ohio State putting the finishing touches on their victory over Indiana. They just punched it in to make it 37-15. Indiana got off to a great start in this one, but some special teams woes put them behind, and Ohio State kind of leaned on them in the second half. This will be 38-15 with the extra point with about 35 seconds to go. All right, Gordy, Diego Pavia, not the doesn't have the speed that Marcel Reed at Texas A&M has, doesn't have the speed or the power that Jalen Milroe has. But, boy, he's an effective runner, and he's a gutsy kid. They respond to him. He can make plays with his feet. He can make plays with his arm. They run a version of the triple option. He has been a real spark plug. I think, for a lot of the season, I said he was the all-SEC quarterback and still might be. He's as important to their operation as any player in the league is to theirs, in my opinion. So what say you on what LSU does with Pavia today?
Yeah, they had their hands full. I mean, this is what LSU struggled with. You have I think their most effective run player, if I'm Jerry Kill and what's Tim's last name? Tim's the OC that came over with him from New Mexico State. I mean, this is Jerry Kill's package. He did it at Saginaw State. He did it at Minnesota. He did it in New Mexico State, had tremendous success. He brought everybody with him. Is the quarterback ISO. Pavia can run it in between the tackles. That's what Milroe did. He's not going to run away from defenses the way that Milroe did, but this is something that LSU struggled with, is that isolation, and how do you handle that? And as you mentioned, they got a running back. They brought the tight end over from New Mexico State. If he play actions and LSU goes after him with the linebackers, the tight end's going to replace where the linebackers came from. And they got one receiver that can stretch you vertically, and he can make you pay. If you start playing zero and commit people, then they'll take their shots at time. I mean, what LSU is going to have to play is a complete 100% discipline game with no busts. I liked a lot of what they did against Florida, but there were too many big plays, right? Big plays is what killed them, and that combined with the offense's inefficiency, it led to that loss against Florida. But this is a tough spot for LSU. Vanderbilt's coming off of an open week. This is a defense, or rather an offensive scheme that has given them trouble. And you've got a veteran offensive line with a quarterback that's not afraid to run it between the tackles.
Gordy, I thought against South Carolina, they just looked a little bit tired. They had given Texas all they wanted. They won on the road at Auburn. And South Carolina, it looked like they just kind of hit a wall. So I think the bye came at a great time for them, not so much where LSU is concerned. But South Carolina has, in my opinion, one of the best defensive fronts in the Southeastern Conference. So how much of what South Carolina was able to do, and they held Vanderbilt to a season low in 7 points, was just because of Kennard and those guys up front for South Carolina?
Yeah, they couldn't block them, and they did a great job. And they were really what I call gap responsible. And I think that becomes a change for LSU. What LSU's been so good at, going back to the Ole Miss games when they had 7 or 8 sacks on Dart, is that you could cut the edge guys loose. And it's one thing to cut your edge guys loose, but being able to fill behind them. And that was the adjustment they didn't make in College Station. The edge guys were blowing up plays, but you didn't set the edge, and then you didn't fill the lanes behind them. So it's all got to be complementary in what you do. I think Blake's had a week to look at it, and certainly this is nothing new to what they do. But, the concern going in is that you look at the stats, they do a nice job of maintaining possession of the football. They're a pain in the butt to deal with. And Pavia's he's not afraid to stick his head in there. He's going to get physical. He's going to pound. And every once in a while he pulls the ball up and he'll throw the ball over the top. And he's hit some big plays, particularly in that Alabama win. This is a matchup for LSU defensively. And for me, it's about cleaning up the big plays, the bust plays, the big plays. They can't do that, right? And you don't know how offense is going to perform tonight. In the past era, the offense was able to wipe some of these mistakes defensively they've made. They're going to have to play a clean game if LSU's going to win tonight.
All right, pick up your clipboard and pretend that the entire LSU nation is laying on the couch, and you get to play psychologist here at this point, because this week has sucked. The month, as a matter of fact, if you want to get down to it, has stunk it up. The losses on the field, and we're going to spend more than enough time talking about this, but Bryce Underwood's decommitment in the middle of the week was the gut punch that you knew it was possible, but boy, what an absolute gut punch for LSU this week.
Sure.
So from the coaching staff dealing with trying to finish out recruiting, trying to finish out a season where the big goals are off the table, you got any good news, I guess?
No. Well, it's a beautiful night, Charles.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice.
I led with the weather, too.
Yeah.
I led with the weather. You
go. Can't
use that one. Try something else.
Beautiful night. Traffic's not going to be bad. That's another plus, right? So that'll be a good thing. Look, I mean, here's where you're at. I mean, we do going into Texas and Oklahoma coming into the SEC with this new age of NIL, and I was realistic. It's going to get harder to get to 10 wins or get to what you want. The expectations of every SEC fan, base. And obviously the last 4 weeks have been just brutal for LSU fans. The reality is, I think it's a gut check for this team. And I'm interested to see how this team responds with everything that transpired in Florida. It was clearly that Florida played a much more motivated game than what LSU did. And so now your back is up against the wall. You're going to have to turn your own switch on because there's not going to be 100,000 fans in the stadium tonight. It's not going to be anywhere close to what it was against Ole Miss and Alabama in terms of environment, right? It's about us. And, I've been in that locker room and I've seen it happen both ways, right? I've seen teams bounce back and take a whole lot of pride and finish this thing out strong. And you've seen the reverse happen. Obviously, I'm hoping for the prior, and that's, I think, where you at, right? I mean, well, we do. I think I'm doing post game with you. I'm so lucky that I get. I drew the Brian Kelly show the week after Alabama. I get you after this week. I mean,
right.
I mean, I'm just trying to raise my kids to make a living. I mean, how do I get this end of the straw? But I think that look, I mean, we don't want to talk about the scenario if it goes backwards. I think 8-4 and best case scenario right now is there's nobody high-fiving over there. But I mean, it's only going to get more competitive in the SEC, and I think it's time for this this team particularly put their foot in the ground and respond, play with some pride, play with some desire that was missing against Florida, and that was the thing that just the better team last week. But Bill, those kids were playing, the home field advantage, all of the above, and it's carried over obviously to this week because they played well against, much better than they fared against Florida, or rather Ole Miss, than I thought they did. And I think that's the key, what I'm looking for. How does this team respond to all the adversity they've been through?
If Florida can hammer out 7 more yards, they're going to beat Ole Miss. Yes, they've got the lead with 1:25 to go, and they've got the football. They make a first down, and that's going to be that. Ole Miss is down to 2 timeouts. So, say what you will about Billy Napier, and we've said plenty, but he has kept that team playing hard. They've had more than their fair share of injuries, and they've kept at it. They had a gauntlet of a schedule, and they've kept at it, and they're on the verge of pulling this big upset here. They're going to face a 3rd down and about 4. If they can convert that, they're gonna knock Ole Miss right out of the playoff here. So we'll see what happens. Gordy, I'm looking forward to seeing you in postgame today. I can't wait,
Charlie. I can't wait, Charlie. We're
just
not
like
taking
old
calls,
times.
Get the band back together.
Are we taking all calls, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I can't wait till the guy calls and say, how come they don't bring the Tiger back on the field? Remember we had that one for a couple of years?
Yeah, with the Tiger on the field, the fullback, the tight end, and please, if you love me at all, just make sure you watch the band at halftime so I can get a band update.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I need it.
I thought you were going Tommy Banks there, actually.
Yeah,
Manny.
well,
That's
the ultimate fullback for sure. Gordy, have a great call. We'll talk to you after the game.
Thanks, guys.
All right. It's going to be 3rd down and 4. 1:17 to go for Florida. They're at their own 26-yard line, just inside the 26. If they can make 4 yards, they're going to run the clock out on Ole Miss. Tell you what, let's keep it right here because they're coming up to the line of scrimmage. I won't make you wait through the break if you're listening along with us. Lagway hands the ball straight away, and they're going to come up short. So Ole Miss is going to they're about 3 yards short, well short. So they're going to force Ole Miss to take their final timeout with 1:10. They will punt the ball from their own 27-yard line. They're up 24-17. So Ole Miss, with their playoff life on the line here, will send Jackson Dart out one more time to see if they can tie this game. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial.
98.1. The Alumni Hall College Football Scoreboard. Alumni Hall, your ultimate Tigers shopping destination.
All right, here's where we are. 30 seconds to go. Florida 24, Ole Miss 17. Florida took a timeout. I'm not sure why.
I guess they didn't like the look.
That ball was in the middle of the field. They were going to. Florida just made it. Ole Miss just made a first down, so they were going to have to get up on the ball. They were going to stop the clock to move the sticks, and then they were going to have to go. Then about the 45-yard line, maybe just inside the 45.
Well, the timeout also negated a false start on Ole Miss as well, because they called it before the snap of before the penalty happened.
Okay, we're watching this game without the sound, so I'm not exactly sure what transpired there. Line of scrimmage will be the 48-yard line of the Florida Gators. They put 4 seconds back on the clock, 34 seconds to go in this one. Again, Ole Miss 8-2, number 9 in the country. Mississippi State is next week, a game they should win easily. They're not going to the SEC championship game. This is for the playoff. A 9-3 Ole Miss team ain't going to get there. So they've got this. It's 48 yards to save their season, and there's an incompletion. All right, let me get around with the rest of the scoreboard. Games in progress. Late in the fourth quarter, Illinois leads Rutgers 30-24. 2 minutes to go there, but Rutgers has the ball at the Illinois 40. Fourth quarter score, number 10, Georgia leads UMass 45-21. Carson Beck has thrown 4 touchdown passes in that game. In the middle of the third quarter, number 11, Tennessee leads UTEP 42-0. Nico has thrown 4 touchdown passes for Tennessee. Ole Miss now playing second down and 10, and that is, if that's intercepted, and it is, that's it for Ole Miss. That is it for Ole Miss. Ole Miss is not going to the playoff. Jackson Dart intercepted the 3rd turnover of the day for Ole Miss. Florida takes over. They'll be able to hit a knee, and that will be that. Sunbelt Billy upsets the LSU Tigers, upsets the Ole Miss Rebels in back-to-back weeks. Wow, and Jackson Dart is inconsolable as the Ole Miss season has started with so much promise. They're going to go back and look at this just to make sure, but I think he's got it. Uh-oh.
That's incomplete.
Uh-oh, we got a better angle this time. Yep. Hold the phone. They're going to go look at this for about a half an hour. Let me do the rest of the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Liberty is leading Western Kentucky 28-21. Boy, that first angle, I thought he had it for sure.
Angle, yeah. But
second angle, not.
You could still see him re-grip on that first angle, though. That's what bothered me.
Yeah. All right. Florida State leads Charleston Southern 31-0. Seminoles will get their second win of the season. Been a long time.
It has.
It'd be Cal back in September. Halftime score: Bowling Green leads Ball State 10-7. UAB leads Rice 20-14. That's right before the half. New Mexico State leads Middle Tennessee 10-7. James Madison leads App State 14-10. TCU leads Arizona 14-0. That's in the first quarter. Kennesaw State leads Florida International 3-0. Arkansas State and UL Monroe are tied at 7. At the end of 1, Southern Miss leads South Alabama 8-0 at the end of 1. Charlotte leads Florida Atlantic 10-3 late in the first quarter. Penn State and Minnesota just about to kick off as we get our 2:30 window underway. Also kicking off now, number 14 BYU and number 21 Arizona State. Winner of this one goes to Week 12 with the destiny in their own hands. The call has been reversed.
Incomplete.
Ole Miss is still alive. We got the other angle, and the ball hit the ground. All right, BYU Arizona State winner goes to Week 12 with the Big 12 championship game in their own control. Northwestern and Michigan kicking off right now. Wisconsin is at Nebraska. Texas Tech has scored early, 7-0 on Oklahoma State. UCF and West Virginia have just kicked, as have San Diego State and Utah State. Georgia Southern and Coastal Carolina, East Carolina, North Texas. South Florida, first-minute touchdown. They lead Tulsa 7-0. Kentucky and number 3 Texas about 5 minutes away from kickoff. Also a few minutes away from kickoff, another team that controls their own destiny in the Big 12. The number 16 ranked Colorado Buffaloes. They are at Arrowhead Stadium to take on Kansas.
That one is
intercepted. Okay, there ain't any doubt about that one. And Lane Kiffin, looks kind of disappointed.
A little bit.
Yeah, all right.
Man.
This one, this time I promise, okay?
Yeah.
That there's no questions about that one. All right, so Colorado, Kansas has been the giant killer. They knocked off Iowa State. They knocked off undefeated BYU, trying to get another one. Their stadium is under remodeling, so they've been kind of nomads throughout the year. This game's at Arrowhead Stadium. Citadel is at number 17, Clemson. Stanford and Cal, the ACC big game. See what I did there? Kicking off on the ACC network. Wofford at number 18, South Carolina. La Tech at Arkansas. Pittsburgh is at Louisville. That's a 3 o'clock kick. 3:15 on the SEC network. Number 23, Missouri tries to bounce back that wild finish at Columbia, South Carolina last week. They are in Starkville to take on Mississippi State. 4 o'clock kick for Troy and UL Lafayette. Cajuns suffered their first loss in Sun Belt play last week. 6 o'clock, the number 19 Army Black Knights will take on number 6 Notre Dame. Notre Dame a 2-touchdown favorite in this game. Number 12 Boise State is at Wyoming. Broncos cannot afford a loss. Everybody in the group of 5 on their heels. Washington State and Oregon State, 6 o'clock on the CW. That is the Forgotten 2 from the realignment.
That's a Pac-12 game still, technically, right?
I suppose it would be. The first and only.
And only. This is the Pac-12 championship tonight on the CW.
Thank you.
Let's go.
You ought to be in marketing, Musso. Baylor is at Houston. Georgia State's at Texas State. 6:30 kickoff. Number 7 Alabama at Oklahoma. They had a whole different theme planned for this game at the beginning of the season. Number 15 Texas A&M in a tricky spot here at Jordan-Hare tonight against Auburn. Next week's game, there's big, there's huge, there's gigantic, there's ginormous, and then there's Texas and Texas A&M in College Station next week. They are only a 1-point favorite at Jordan-Hare. This has got trap written all over it. I mean, this is like big bear claw, big giant teeth and, bear trap for Texas A&M.
I think Auburn's going to win it.
We'll see. Auburn has played very good defense.
Yeah.
The offensive problems have largely been around the turnovers, which they have curtailed a little bit in the last month. They're still not good.
No.
But they've
been in every game, though, man. They've been in every game because of that defense.
Number 22, Iowa State is at Utah. Marshall's at Old Dominion. Virginia Tech is at Duke. Rumors that in Blacksburg that Brent Pry may be on the way out. At 7 o'clock, Cincinnati's at Kansas State. 9:30 at the Rose Bowl. USC is at UCLA. At 9:30, Air Force is at Nevada. Colorado State at Fresno State. Earlier finals today, Syracuse beat UConn 31-24. Syracuse quietly has put together a really nice year. They are 8-3. Number 2 Ohio State got off to a tough start against number 5 Indiana, but rolled 38-15. Indiana took their opening drive, went 70 yards for a touchdown, then got a stop at the 2-yard line on Ohio State going in. But 2 big miscues in special teams. They had a punt return against them for a touchdown. They also had the punter drop a ball that gave Ohio State the ball at point-blank range. Will Howard threw a couple of touchdown passes for Ohio State. Ohio State dominated this game after the first 6 minutes or so, 7 minutes. I think Indiana's fine for the playoff. They couldn't go up there and get beat 51-7 or something like that. I think they did enough. Do you?
I think now they need Penn State to stumble somewhere. I don't think they did enough.
You don't think they did enough? Okay.
Because of what you said. I mean, if we're going to look at eye tests in that game, they got dominated from the 6-minute mark in the first quarter on in that game. Like it wasn't competitive.
Yeah, I mean,
and they don't have a signature win.
They don't. That's probably the bigger problem. I could probably get by a 23-point loss at Ohio State that included a couple of special teams gaffes. If they just had one win that I could point to and say, look at that one, and you're right, they don't have that.
Penn State doesn't either, for what it's worth, if we're being honest. I mean,
that's true. Penn State, they both lost to Ohio State. Yeah. Penn State lost to them at home, but by a shorter margin. It's close. I think Indiana's in.
I hope they are.
At 11-1, but we'll see. Number 8, Miami beats Wake Forest 42-14. They are now 10-1 on the season. Number 13, SMU holds serve. They beat Virginia 33-7 on the road. They are on a collision course in the ACC title game, or the Mustangs and the Canes. Iowa beat Maryland 29-13. It was Boston College big over North Carolina, 41-21, and Jacksonville State gets their 8th win of the season over Sam Houston, 21-11, and that is your college football scoreboard. We're back. Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl with a breakdown on Vandy. That is next. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day Scouting Report, presented by Demco, providing safe, reliable, and competitively priced energy services to co-op members since 1938.
Back from Rouse's on the corner of Burbank and Lee. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day. LSU Vanderbilt, 6:45 kickoff from Tiger Stadium. We continue to count you down. The penultimate game in the regular season. LSU looking for their first win in over a month, and they're going to have to face a very game Vanderbilt Commodore squad. Maybe not the squad any of us thought we'd see from Vanderbilt this year, but they're here nonetheless, and it should be a great challenge under the lights in Death Valley. Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, joins the show for our scouting report. As always, you can find him on Twitter at JimNagy_SB. Jim, we appreciate the time. Welcome back for another week. How are you?
Yeah, Matt, good to be back, man. Can you believe that we are talking about the Commodores like we're talking about them, and people are kind of scared of this being a dangerous football team? I'm sure none of us thought that coming into the year, but give Clark Lee and that coaching staff a ton of credit.
I definitely didn't think about it that way, and yeah, I mean, they've been awesome. You could see it kind of early in the year. They were right there and just couldn't get over the hump, and then when they beat Alabama, it was like, okay, wait a minute, they might have something cooking up there in Nashville. One of the things they have cooking is their quarterback, Diego Pavia. He's an interesting prospect when it gets to the next level. We'll talk about that just because of size and things of that nature and his skill set. But just in a vacuum in this season, him stepping up to the SEC, what have you seen from the player?
Yeah, he's really a fun guy to watch. You know, he falls into that good football player category that if you're an NFL team, you want to try to find a place for the guy. You know, like you said, size, well, there's a size deficiency there, you know, not an NFL throwing skill set, but man, he's so competitive, so tough. He's kind of that throwback leader. I mean, we've seen what he's done. It always stops, right? He's got the coolest story from junior college in New Mexico State and out of Andy, you know, he's led his teams everywhere. There's got to be a place. So, you know, going in the way back machine, if we can. You know, a lot of people like to just think the offensive side of the football with offensive players. But with a guy like this, it reminds me a little bit of Scott Frost when he was at Nebraska. You know, and you know, they converted Scott to safety with the New York Jets back in, probably the early 2000s now, without Googling Scott Frost. But, you know, and Scott played a number of years in the league because he was everything Pavia is. He's tough. He's got some ruggedness to him. He's a high-end competitor. When a play needs to be made or he needs to sacrifice his body to make a play, he does it. So, again, I think that teams that there'll be some teams that just kind of cast Pavia aside and don't see a fit for him. But I think teams that think outside the box and they want a guy like that in their locker room is again, even as a developmental player, even on the practice squad, you get a kid like this on the practice squad and can do multiple roles. There's value to the football team there. So I think he will have a helmet on after the season. I don't know if he gets drafted, but I think Pavia is going to be somewhere when we get to next August.
So how does a position change like that work in the NFL? What goes into that? I mean, we've seen it with a couple different players throughout the course. I mean, you mentioned Scott Frost right there, and there's been plenty more. What is that process like for an NFL team with a unique player like Diego Pavia?
Well, Matt, I'd say the first thing, you got to get buy-in from the player, right? I mean, they can't be stuck on the fact that they play a certain position. They have to want to play in the NFL so badly that they'll do whatever it takes. And I'd share one story. I was working for the Patriots when there was a quarterback by the name of Julian Edelman at Kent State University. And Jules was, you know, a little similar to Pavia, probably a little more athletic, probably a twitchier athlete, but you knew he wasn't going to play quarterback. You know, he's 5'10", maybe, if you stretched him out. But he was, you know, I remember going into the school that year and the coaches said, this is the most competitive kid we've ever been around. I remember his offensive coordinator telling me that specifically. And so then, you know, I talked to Edelman when I went through the school, and I said, you know, are you open to playing another position if we don't see you as a quarterback? And he's like, absolutely. You know, I just want to play. You know, wherever you want me to play, I'll play. And then to follow it up that spring, you know, we went to the pro day, worked him out as a receiver, let him run all those slot routes, and then we shot a bunch of punts to him and watch him field punts. So, yeah, but I think it all starts in with the buy-in of the player.
What position or positions do you think he could maybe switch to in the NFL? Like, where would he fit best? 'Cause, I mean, he is a dynamic athlete on the offensive side, but you kind of piqued my interest when you mentioned Scott Frost, you know, moving to safety.
Yeah, I mean, you could see him as maybe a third down running back, you know, change of pace, third down running back. Certainly could be anywhere you project him to. He's going to have to do something on special teams, and I definitely think he's tough enough to do that. But like I said, I brought up the Scott Frost example just because that's kind of what I see that guy being athletically. I really think, you know, it's going to be different for him. It's usually a longer transition, but I just love his play style, and I think he's a guy that would actually fit on the defensive side of the football.
Just gives you an idea of what LSU is facing when Diego Pavia comes into Tiger Stadium Saturday night. I mean, it's a guy who can play on both sides of the ball here at the next level, potentially just because of the athleticism. Jim, let's talk about some of the other weapons on Vanderbilt's offense, because while Pavia gets all the focus and LSU has had their problems stopping running quarterbacks, there are two pass catchers that have helped him out a lot in the passing game. He's completing 60% of his throws. One of them is Eli Stowers, the big tight end, who Brian Kelly raved about in his Monday press conference earlier this week, and for good reason. Kelly knows good tight end play, and Stowers is the leading receiver so far on the team for Vandy.
Yeah, this is a guy with another, interesting backstory as well. You know, he came with Pavia from New Mexico State. Prior to that, this guy was a big-time quarterback coming out of high school. He went to Texas, won a couple state titles in the state of Texas as a quarterback, and you know, so now he's making that transition, and it's really working. What you love about him, he's a smooth athlete, smooth route runner. He can do something with the ball when he gets in his hands. In the pass game, he's probably a little similar to Mason Taylor, where Taylor's different. He's just a significantly better blocker at this point in his career, in his development than Stowers is. But Stowers has had a great year. Definitely think he's getting drafted. It's going to be somewhere on day 3, somewhere in that, you know, probably that 4th, 5th, 6th round range. But for a guy that was just playing quarterback a couple years ago to get drafted as a tight end, it goes to show the level of athlete. So he is. He's had a great year. He's going to be someone they're going to have to focus on tonight.
So you would say he's been pretty much used exclusively in the passing game with the transition, since the blocking just isn't quite up to par yet?
Yeah, I mean, he's only about 235 pounds, so there's not a lot he can do when he's attached to the line of scrimmage. I mean, you're not going to – he'll stick his face in there and he'll give effort, but he's certainly not going to move anyone. When they ask him to block, he's really more of a perimeter blocker. That's kind of his role in, like, the quick passing game and stuff like that. And when they run, sweeps and wide runs, they'll try to get him out in front. But he's not your conventional, line of scrimmage, inline tight end at this point. He's just going to have to get bigger and stronger.
One other pass catcher to touch on is Quincy Skinner Jr. And he's an interesting player for the sense that if you look at the production at wide receiver, it might not be there, but he finds many different ways to impact the game in Vanderbilt's offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of tie it back to, like, Stephen Sullivan from LSU years ago. We had him in the Senior Bowl. And, I think we invited him to the Senior Bowl that year, and he had, like, 15 catches. We invited Racey McMath one year, and he had 20 catches. And, Racey went in the 4th round. Sullivan, I think, got drafted in the 7th. But they were both draft picks, and so you can't just look at a stat line with receivers. I think what Skinner has shown he can do, when they target him, he will go up and make the tough contested catch. Now, this is another tough sucker. That's kind of the common theme with this Commodore football team. Whether it's Pavi or Skinner or a bunch of guys on their defense. I mean, this is a tough group. That's why they're winning football games. So, and really, where we like Skinner, the Senior Bowl, what we really love about him is the blocking stuff. I mean, this guy, he will go out and he will come inside and put his face on linebackers. He will dig out safeties. He'll do the dirty work. He's been a real key to that football team, kind of an unsung hero. So when you're sitting there as a football team in the 6th and 7th round and you're looking for wide receiver help, you really start looking at guys can play on special teams. You'd rather draft a guy like Skinner than a guy with 80 catches that deep down he's never going to run down and tackle people on punt team. You're better off drafting a guy like Skinner. So, he's helped himself a lot this year. He's made plays when they've thrown it to him. And the big thing is he really keys their quick game in the pass game and the run game stuff on the perimeter.
Quincy Skinner, I mean, that just sounds like a guy who gets into a camp and fights to make a 53 with everything that he's got going outside of the game, just the toughness, the grit, the willing to do anything. So you're right. That's the common theme of Vanderbilt. They play with a great desire and a great passion, and it has worked very, very well for them. Hoping it doesn't work too well Saturday night, though, Jim. Not going to lie. LSU, the Tigers need a win. It's been a month. We got to get them back on the right track. Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, with us every week here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day for our scouting report. Get him on Twitter at JimNagy_SB. You can follow the Senior Bowl as well at Senior Bowl. Games coming up in early February. Jim, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you, and we'll talk soon, okay?
All right, Matt. Enjoy the game.
Absolutely. That is Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. We'll be back here with more LSU Vandy counting you down. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. WDGL and HD1 Baton Rouge. Eagle 98.1.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Orderlocks, presented by William Crane Allstate Insurance Agency. For auto, home, life insurance in the Baton Rouge and surrounding areas, William Crane Allstate Insurance Agency. Now, here's Jimmy Ott.
Howler Bears countdown to kickoff comes your way right here, about 4 hours away from LSU and Vanderbilt. A little under 4 hours away. Jimmy, good afternoon. How are you?
Good, man. Just enjoying the games over here at the Queen.
Somewhere, Ben Men sweeps. The Ole Miss Rebels fall today to Florida, 24-17. A couple of 4th down and 1s that they hand the ball to the big defensive lineman Pegues that he has stopped on.
Direct snap. The same thing, but direct snap.
Yeah. They fall short on 2 of those right around the 10-yard line. Either one of those gets in. And maybe it's a different thing. Jackson Dart had a really rough day, threw a couple of interceptions, and at the end there looked completely – I thought he looked a little bit rattled anyway. Ole Miss, who we thought they get into the playoffs, you give them a ticket, they could be trouble. They don't have a ticket anymore.
No, I don't think so. Now, listen, Pegues also converted on a few of those that led to touchdowns also. So it wasn't like they messed all, but they went to it over and over again. Charlie, I disagree with you on Jackson Dart's evaluation. No doubt he had a rough last 10 minutes of the game, without a doubt. But I thought he was as sharp as I've seen in a while. He was averaging 10 yards an attempt. He had 2 TDs and no interceptions. He was running behind his pads and scrambling and buying time. I thought he was exceptionally sharp, but there he went south when it was on the line. What do we have here? History tells us we're supposed to be looking over our shoulder and things like that, and it got him. So, no, I thought – and then Harris goes down. Strange call, enforcement, that incomplete. It's just a bad call. The rule, though, I didn't have the sound on. He downed the ball, like, with his hand, and then he just let it go. But I thought that was a strange call in that spot where they had so much time. But, no, Dart was really, really good for about 3 quarters, and he was really, really bad to end the game. Quarterback play, inconsistent in the SEC. You see it even within the game.
Yeah, on the road. And that's what I meant was the last portion of that game where it just seemed like he was – I thought he was rattled in the last parts of the game.
He was, and they had no more balance at that point. They knew they had to run. But also they fell behind. And Florida got that lead, and, that puts pressure on him. And he didn't handle it well. No, there's those putts and there's pressure putts. There's those there's quarterback play, and then there's, pressure quarterback play. But, hey, man, Billy Napier again, and he didn't coach a perfect game. Snapping the clock way too early when they're trying to nurse that 7-point lead. But just a great atmosphere. We noticed it was noticeable to me because it hasn't been that much. And, Florida fans are used to playing for way more than just playing out the string. But to be 6-5 at this juncture with that roster and this schedule, man, you got to give it to them. That's a really good. And when they could have phoned it in, and we wondered ourselves, there's a big question mark over Tiger Stadium. We know Vandy's going to be ready to play. Is LSU going to be excited to play? And that's just not a given. And Napier held it together. And, man, they, and Lagway's a star. He's a star. And he didn't play a perfect game by any stretch as well. But the other thing, Charlie, they got production in the power running game. And I didn't know if, Ole Miss could be pushed. I don't know if they push them around, but have that much success on the ground. So, Florida, Saban said I'm picking Ole Miss, but he said over and over, I think it's going to be close. So he thinks that Ole Miss is the most talented team. To make the SEC great, man. It was a great atmosphere, and you know what? Once runs, always runs.
I just texted Rabelais that I knew you were coming. You were coming with that. 164 yards on 45 carries for Florida today. They ran it 45 times. They only threw it 18 times today in the game.
How about that?
Yeah. Okay.
How about that?
Indiana gets off to the good start. They take the first drive. They go right down the field, 70 yards. They scored a touchdown. They get the goal line, stop at the 2 on the next one, and after that, Ohio State really dominated the rest of the game. Jimmy, the yardstick tells us Ohio State was a little bit better than 2-1, though Indiana did have more first downs. The two big special teams gaffes, the punt return for a touchdown. The punter drops the ball, gives them the ball inside the 5, makes his score a little bit more than maybe it should have been. But Ohio State dominated the game, no question about it. So my question to you is, did Indiana do enough today?
I think dominate's a little strong. Nebraska gets a 3-and-out, and then they take it 70 yards for a touchdown. It's like, bam, wow. But that's not a team that can – any underdog is not a team that can overcome such big – that's 14 points, period. The snap was perfect to the punter. You got to get the punt off.
We're right through his hands.
And you can go – well, you go into the locker room 7-7, and you get the ball to start the second half. And then the punt return as well. I'm not ready to say dominate, but they were the better team. They controlled it.
Control might be a better word than dominate. I'll go with that.
Yeah, but I still was a little impressed with Indiana. It's just a big plays to go. Now listen, in the third quarter, after the 70 yards touchdown drop, they had negative yardage the rest of the game. So they really got clamped down. They had some problems with that guy coming off the right edge for Ohio State, the Samoan name. But I still think that Indiana showed me enough that they didn't embarrass themselves by any stretch. Navy can't afford uncharacteristic turnovers and stay with Notre Dame. Indiana can't afford those and still be competitive. They weren't embarrassed. They were controlled, but I still think they're right there. It could have been a lot closer. It could have been.
I think they're still in. Ole Miss losing helps.
I agree.
Okay, because Ole Miss would have had a spot in this thing, and now they don't. So I think they're still in, but it's going to make for some nervous moments. All right, let's talk about some of the games.
Do they look like a top 10 team to you today?
Man, Ohio State's such a tough place to play. They look like a top 25 team for sure. A top 10 team, I can't say that. But I thought they acquitted themselves well enough to have held serve. Very few teams go in there and win. I think they did enough. I think they did enough.
I agree with you. I don't know if they're a top 10 either, Charlie, by saying that. And that's what you're basically saying if you get on that large bid.
Yeah.
But, man, they're still well coached. They still are. The only thing is, in the second half, one of those protections, they're asking a right guard to come slide over to the left side at the left edge and protect and block that guy. You can't do that against Ohio State. So that was the only thing that said, hey man, this team's not battle tested. But And they haven't done those things all season long. Just like Navy hadn't done those things. I think they're in. I think they deserve to get in. But, yeah, I guess that Ole Miss, that helps. The 10-2 Ole Miss against that, I would have put Ole Miss ahead of Indiana if it just came down to those two. Had Ole Miss finished out 10-2.
All right, so you mentioned Navy. Army gets their shot at Notre Dame tonight, 6 o'clock. That's at Yankee Stadium. The Cadets have a worse strength of schedule than even Indiana does. And, Notre Dame has been rolling. That embarrassing loss to Northern Illinois back in September. Their last 5 games are outscoring their opponents. I think it's 250-50, something like that. So Army's got their hands full. I think Daly is – I know he's playing. How healthy is he? We'll see for Army. What kind of shot do you give the Cadets tonight?
Well, everybody's just saying, okay, they expected with, Notre Dame, Navy. And, it's going to be a big step up in class. East Carolina is your best win. They're like 82, 92, their power rating. So, it's a great story, but I don't expect them to throw up on themselves like Navy did. I expect them to be a little bit more. So the quarterback from Texas, who's kind of a Tim Tebow light, he's not 100%. He's playing, but I think it's going to be low scoring. I think Notre Dame. It's going to be hard for Notre Dame to stop Army. I'm sorry, for Army to score against Notre Dame's really good defense. Navy in that game, even though they got beat, they moved the ball. They had chunk plays, but I think Navy's got more of a capable passing game with Horvath than what the Army does. So I like Notre Dame, low scoring. I can see like 27-6, something like that. But Army, I just don't give them much of a chance to win the game outright.
The mother of all look-ahead spots, Texas A&M, with the biggest game since, I don't know, since College Station was founded next week. But they got to go to Auburn. Auburn, this number's all the way down to 1. Texas A&M, a 1-point favorite. Auburn has not been impressive. This is a 1-5 team in the SEC. But the defense has been pretty good. What was killing them early in the season, really all the way through October, was the turnovers. As of late, they've turned the ball over a little less. It's going to be Marcel Reed going all the way for A&M tonight. Jimmy, can Auburn pull the upset?
Sure. It's a 1-point spread. I mean, not much of an upset. And, how about Elko's soundbite? How about that? Yeah. No, look. And right now, we're just 100% focused on Texas. I mean, Auburn. I mean, come on, man. I mean, you can't pay for that kind of entertainment. So my buddy Paul Stone, a contributor on our shows and podcasts, he's a UT alum. And, 3 years ago when we're in the SEC media days and they announced that Texas and Oklahoma were coming, they have been counting down the days to the game. And so now you have something on the line for both teams. Oh, man, it's going to be – and that's next week. So, Kentucky, maybe they can hang around with Texas a little bit more. Texas had to convert a 4th down to get their first score, 7-0 game right now. But, man, all the wise guys, all the sharp are on Auburn in this spot. And part of our 80% club yesterday, Troy Macker let us know that Texas A&M, the tickets are like 90%. So you got a classic pros versus Joes look-ahead spot. Give me Auburn all you can handle.
LSU and Vanderbilt, the pair of 6-4 teams, not any, I think, prognostication of at any point in the summer or in the early part of the season. Thought these two teams would be where they are for different reasons. Any thoughts about what might happen tonight at Tiger Stadium?
Well, but the curiosity factor is, how they come to play. And, I mean, it was everybody that talked about this game, whether it's game day or just whoever, everybody today has said, man, there's something going on down there. There's something going on. And they saw the optics of Kelly and the players kind of jawing back and forth. It's not just that they lost to Florida. People respect Florida. And here we go again. But there's just something, my curiosity factor is, man, how hard do you play? How much pride do you have? Because if they go through the motions, they're getting beat. And we'll know if they go through the motions. They'll get beat by double digits. And if that's the case, well, it's been a rough week in the recruiting ranks for Brian Kelly. He's not going anywhere. They could owe him zero. And we're on the same page there, Charlie. And they're not getting rid of it. And he deserves not to be on a hot seat because his record is pretty damn good winning two-thirds of the conference games in 3 seasons. But, man, there's hot seats and then there's fans. You know, I'm even wondering, Charlie, if we might hear a few boos if they stink it up a little bit tonight. It wouldn't shock me if that's the case. And Pavia, for a defense that's had problems against mobile quarterbacks, and he can throw it a little bit too. He is. I think he's going to have some success against LSU's defensive front.
It'll be far from full, but the weather's helping them out a lot. I think you're going to get a decent crowd to start this game. How they react and whether they stick around or not is up to the Tigers, though. Jimmy, who's bringing us auto locks?
Charlie, that weather, that'd be nice when you're in your living room, but it's beautiful today. It's going to be cold in Tiger Stadium tonight. Hey, our friends William Crane and Allstate Insurance, come with the good hands, people, at William Crane Allstate. You one of the many whose homeowners insurance is going up? Yep, we all know it. Call William Crane, 421-3133, and ask about the Jimmy Yacht Bundle Special, being more and more competitive, more and more reasonable with Allstate's homeowner rates, where some people, you can't even get a policy in the state of Louisiana right now. Bundle your homeowner's auto for even better rates. William Crane, Allstate Insurance, 421-3133, 421-3133.
Thanks, Jimmy. We'll see you tomorrow for Football Sunday, starting at 10 a.m. at the Queen.
All right, guys.
Thanks a lot. All right, Arizona State leads BYU 7-0. Kansas leads Colorado 10-0. These Big 12, we call them semifinals, I guess, or something.
Yeah, you can.
Something like that. Kansas
that
doesn't have a
works.
chance, but they get a great chance to play. Spoiler, they're up 10-0. All right, we are here. Our Le Berge countdown to kickoff about 3 hours and 45 minutes. When we come back, Shea Dixon on recruiting. You don't want to miss this. That's next. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. residential, commercial, industrial.
98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Recruiting with Shay Dixon of On3 Sports. Presented by Ralph's Market. Ralph's Market, where quality and customer service are a family tradition.
Back here at Rouse's, your tailgating headquarters, and also for Thanksgiving, of course, coming up this week. Come on by Rouse's. We're out here by the bakery and the deli. Of course, you come by and get a huge selection of wine, spirits, and beer. Never run out of ice here at Rouse's. For tailgating, for Thanksgiving, for every day, make it Rouse's. Shay Dixon joins us now. Shay, congratulations. We took a straw poll this morning on most anticipated segment of pregame, and you won.
Yeah.
I'm not really exactly sure why. Oh, wait, no, I do know why. You tell me, the decommitment of Bryce Underwood sent the world into a tizzy on Thursday, so I'm just going to let you tell it from your perspective how this all went down.
Just so that, and there's going to be listeners of all ages here who have all different perspectives. I said, Charlie, that this was and given he's an out-of-state guy and from Michigan, so far away, but the reality of being a quarterback, a program changer, not just your normal five-star, even not your normal number one quarterback, number one overall prospect, thought to be kind of a three-and-done type player. And he had been committed for well over 300 days, and then 14 days short of signing day, flips to Michigan. And it wasn't one of those things where he had just been at Michigan, every weekend, despite saying, hey, I'm still committed. And it was this, hey, Michigan's going to make an NIL push, and it happened. And here we are in the NIL era where they make a record-setting NIL agreement for Bryce Underwood. All that to say, 5 for 5. I was on the floor of the Trop when that happened. Ultimately, the melt was bad, but LSU got 2 of the 5. Those 2 became top 5 picks. The other 3 didn't get drafted. So that, in time, didn't hurt as much. In terms of stinging, I compare it to the late Joe McKnight and that day and that morning and when he announced he was leaving, and it was sort of deflating despite the fact, and it's much like this, where they're going to sign a really great class. It was a gut punch. So I'll give it back to you before I expand further on what I think this impact is. Where do you think it stacks up?
Well, it's pretty big for a number of reasons. Number one, they don't have time to go get another quarterback. It's going to have to be transfer portal now, so you get back into that merry-go-round. I suspect, and I'm going to get with you on this here later in the segment, but that there's going to be some collateral damage here. It may be one, it may be more than one. It couldn't have come at a worse time from a perception standpoint because things seem to be coming unraveled on the field. You add a couple of things off the field, and you get the game day guys talking about, hey, is something wrong down in Baton Rouge? And if they were to lose to Vanderbilt tonight at home for the first time since 1951, it becomes a 4-alarm fire around here. That's why I said yesterday on the show, and I believe that these are the most important 10 to 12 days of Brian Kelly's tenure so far at LSU because he's got to hold this thing together. They are crying for some leadership right now, and he's got to show it. He's got to get this team to go out and play the next 2 weeks. They've got to show a pulse. They've got to show a heartbeat. And then he's got to hold his class together, the rest of it. If you can hold it here, you'll probably be okay. You've got enough quarterbacks on the team right now, and with the resources that you have to go out and add another one if Nussmeier goes pro. If he comes back, maybe you get in the portal for a different kind of quarterback. If you hold it right here, you'll probably be all right. But if this spirals on you, if you lose tonight and 3 or 4 kids decommit by the middle of next week, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. That's my take. And one more thing before I turn it back to you. I was hosting the bash the day that Joe McKnight signed with USC. The next player that signed, do you remember who it was?
Chad Jones.
It was Chad Jones, and who ended up being a part of a baseball and a football national championship around here. So, there is – this is the bad time, like they said in Goodfellas. This is on Brian Kelly. These next 10 to 12 days are crucial. He's got to be a leader. He's got to hold this together.
I had said in my prediction and preview piece we do on the site, that I thought it might be, or could be argued to be, the most important game of his tenure so far. Because, yes, perception cannot always be reality, but 13 days, 12 days out from signing day, you don't want to find out. And in this case, and look, I've heard this from another SEC coach this week who is not out there flipping LSU's guys, but was kind of feeling the, hey, how does it feel down there? What's the pulse? The everything sucks. That's crazy. But said, hey, look, I'll tell you that other schools are going to paint it just like they do to anyone.
Sure.
Now, you didn't lose 4 straight. You lost a couple first-year head coaches. You lost to Napier, who left UL, and then you lost to Vandy. And now that obviously masks that there were some very good teams in there, and the SEC is a mess this year. But that's the reality. You can't drop 4 games in a row this close to signing day without there being some sort of fallout that, if not, you had to double down and do more than you should have to keep the guys. So, yes, today, utmost importance to get a win, Carly, and next week.
Yeah, I agree, because you're right there close. Okay, let's just get down to brass tacks. Was this a matter of LSU did everything they possibly could, and Michigan came in with 8 figures, and that was that?
Yes, but that's obviously simplifying it, and we'd have to sit here all day and beyond to discuss everything that comes with balancing that. First off, if you say a fan says, well, why can't LSU go match it? Go figure a way to match it. Well, Michigan publicly thanked a donor who's worth north of $320 billion for making this happen. And
that's the Oracle guy, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Larry Ellison?
Yep.
Yeah.
Larry Ellison, CEO, founder of Oracle, one of the richest people in the country. They could just keep going up, and then you look sort of like a fool, like, oh, you were willing to do all that and you missed, and now what does that mean for your class? Also, and this is very directly ties to that, let's say they would have gotten near it or matched it. He was already going to be the highest paid player on LSU's roster. What if that was times 4 or times whatever, and he's a new guy walking in? Every transfer portal kid, every recruit, every guy on the team, they see that. And look, we know kids can talk and they'll do all that, but not every kid is Underwood, is what Rashada got into, Lagway, where the number one quarterback you usually kind of hear of what the market value is, what they went, NIL agreement was. And if I'm LSU, do you put yourself, Charlie, in that spot? And again, that's a discussion you could take in a million directions, but in the end, LSU was not going, and look, the word was not given the opportunity to match it anyways, but they weren't going to match that, and they'll have to move forward. You got beat out at the end by a record-setting NIL deal that smashed, what we had previously seen for a player. And to put it into perspective, Joey B. signs a $32 million 4-year deal as the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. This is worth more than a third of that. So that is a big risk, right? Or not. Look, I'm not even going to get into that. That's just a big, big move to make for high school prospects.
Here's something else that I've heard all week, and I understand this is just the raw emotions coming out of it. I don't agree with it, is that Underwood played LSU all along. That he
I don't agree with that.
Well, I'm going to tell you why I don't agree with it, and you can tell me why you don't. That he was committed, he was going to use another school as leverage against Michigan, and he was always going to jump with about 2 weeks to signing day. Here's why I don't, and I understand why people would think that. Here's why I don't agree with that. If you wanted to leverage Michigan, you wouldn't have done it with LSU. Not if you were smart. If you wanted to leverage Michigan, he should have committed to Ohio State, or at the very least Texas or Texas A&M, a school with an unlimited budget. LSU doesn't have that. The second thing is, if he really wanted to milk this, why sign next Wednesday? Wait until February. Price is only going to go up. So I don't think that he played them from the beginning. I do think that Michigan was going to do everything in their power to get him at the end, but I don't think that he went into this maliciously. Maybe I'm naive, but that was my thought.
I'll add 2 more things, and I agree with both of your points. To the reasoning why I don't think that this was a long con or anything of that nature. He committed to LSU at a time for all the way up until really the past couple of months. Michigan was circled as the one school out there that had a big endowment whose collective was not where it should be. And it was transformational, transformative, not transformational. And they were putting out all these, mission statements of, hey, look, this is why we're not getting into the NIL game. And look, I talked to the recruiting guys up there. They said it all along then. They were like, look, Michigan's not going to play that game, so this guy's not going there. And it would be true time after time. Then they got all this backing to where they could blow away what was described as a life-changing offer. And all across, the point being, across that time, LSU had a good, it's not like the NIL agreement got offered a day ago. He knew what was going on at LSU. He felt comfortable with it. He was good to go. And Michigan wasn't playing that game. They weren't pushing for him, getting him to campus, anything. That all happened over the past month. That's, I think, probably the biggest thing I would point to of why he wouldn't be doing that. The other, which I think maybe other people would agree or say is the bigger one, if you want to run it up, then visit schools. Go to Bama and Oregon and Miami and go everywhere. Yeah. And what, committed or uncommitted, he didn't do anything. He just was committed to LSU and sat at his house every week. He was just waiting out for one day Michigan to say, you know what, we should beef up our NIL. And it's not just Underwood. They're flipping Bama commits. They're flipping a number of guys right now as they have a large amount to spend.
Shea Dixon is our guest from On 3. We're going to take a break. We convinced Shea he was having so much fun with this to stick around for another segment so we can talk about something besides Bryce Underwood, because there's a lot of other stories to cover here in relation to LSU recruiting. We'll do that when we return here at Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Eagle 98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Recruiting with Shea Dixon of On3 Sports. Presented by Ralph's Market. Ralph's Market, where quality and customer service are a family tradition.
All right, Shay, nice enough to hold on with us for a second segment because we had pretty much a whole Bryce Underwood segment. Shay, let's talk about the collateral effects of this on the rest of the class. Where does LSU have commitments that are visiting other places this weekend?
Yeah, well, first off, I'd like it if we could do that pre-roll there, the lead-in to where it's segment, part 2.
Right.
I have a feeling we'll do this again next week before signing.
We didn't have time to turn
true.
around the imaging, but we'll work on that this week. I promise.
Yeah, they've got well, first off, I think the big storyline becomes who kind of didn't visit places, but one, and really that's where I will lead off, because I could run up and down the list. I'm thinking DJ Pickett, for instance, is their next top guy. He Zephyr Hills lost last night in the playoffs, and he's off the family vacation right now. Obviously, Thanksgiving week coming up. And then from there, Cade Phillips, the 5-star cornerback out of Texas, who LSU flipped from Texas. Corey Raymond paired him with Pickett as the 2 5-stars, and now Aiden Anding being the number 1 player or corner in Louisiana, I should say. That's the 3 corners. And all this is the type of kind of rebuild the DBU at corner. This is what you come with, the elite of the elite. The number 1, the number 4 corners in the country, and a 4-star and best in Louisiana. But Texas had made a big push, Charlie. Look, this is what, and I can expand on this more right now, but really in short, the teams, and Bama's lost commits. Bama lost a 5-star to Ole Miss, and they're about maybe going to lose a 5-star to Michigan. But the same with Ohio State. The teams that have been sitting in the top 3 or 4 that put their class together and everything's sort of allocated and positions are addressed, and you might be chasing a Jakeem Stewart, but everything's sort of figured out for you, are getting poached by the teams like Nebraska, Michigan, Ole Miss that have deep and fully funded NIL collectives, but don't have the high school classes they want. And they're coming in and trying to flip guys. So they went after Cade Phillips this week again, and LSU kind of buckled in. Corey Raymond, Blake Baker, credit those guys. And Cade said, hey, look, I'm not going to be visiting Texas this weekend. I'm done. And I'm a week out from LSU. So that's massive news. Obviously, Pickett not visiting anywhere is massive news. Derek Meadows is a guy we've had on Flip Watch. He's from Michigan, and he moved out to Las Vegas to play at Bishop Gorman for high school. He was going to visit Bama this weekend, and he didn't. He has said before he was going to come to LSU next weekend. If he does, that would be the first visit since he committed back in July. In the past few weeks, though, he's been back home and went to Michigan to a game. Now Underwood's committed there, and obviously he's got a connection. They used to use the same trainer back in the day, but they're familiar with each other enough to where Michigan kind of gets an added boost there. Or Notre Dame, which is where everybody thought that he was going to go originally. I won't be shocked if he doesn't end up at LSU. And, Charlie, I can go back to the last time, and I don't know if this is good or bad. I think it's good. But, look, you can always go and get the best receivers in the country. The reality is the last time a wide receiver, which could end this year, finished in the top 5 in receiving yards the top 3 in receiving yards for LSU at the end of the season was Jojo LaFell coming out of Houston. And they recruit East Texas, recruit Louisiana, and all those guys seem to turn out pretty well. So I don't think losing a receiver from way out of state is nothing like losing Underwood. I don't think it's even a blip on the radar compared to that. So if that flip happens, I don't think I'm pushing the panic meter. But he was going to visit Bama, isn't. We'll see if he comes to LSU next weekend. But again, I think that the big news was that Cade Phillips, and in addition to that, Zion Williams out of Lufkin, who Bo Davis has committed a 4-star. Texas made a big push to get him to campus and see if they couldn't get back in it, as they were the favorite when Bo Davis was there as the D-line coach. And he went ahead and confirmed that, hey, I'm shutting it down. Talked with Bo Davis. He said a number of times. I could bet that was a lot of times. Bo Davis was telling him, hey, look, you're locked in. But he says he's now good to go. We'll sign with LSU. So good news trickling back in right now, Charlie. after the Underwood news.
Shay, is it too simplistic to say, hey, listen, they had all of this money allocated for Underwood. Now they've got a surplus that can shore up some guys that are already there. If there's somebody else that they want to go after, they have more money than they had at this time on Thursday.
I think that you could easily – I mean, that's obvious. Yes, that is the truth. That
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't just
Thursday.
I wanted to make sure it's not just Underwood money, it's money, right? They can move it around.
Correct.
Okay.
I think yes. And I think at the same time, people will say, well, do you save that for the portal? That's something teams are like, they've got that allocated. This now maybe gives them a little more wiggle room in this class. And really, Charlie, this is what teams are facing. If everyone's coming after your guys and they're coming after them with bigger NIL agreements or whatever it is, if you're having to go up a little here or there, money, that's where you need a little extra money. So that's why I think that they know, look, we can't let any more bleeding happen. It's really going to hurt us. And that's why guys like Pickett and Phillips and Zion, D-line, corner, guys like that are not visiting other schools. That's big news.
One more thing. I know you got to go. Solomon Thomas, big offensive lineman, top 100 guy, longtime Florida State commitment, on campus this weekend, yes?
Yeah, on campus now. And he's always maintained, he's from Florida. He's committed to Florida State for a year now. He's always maintained he's solid. But they fired their line coach here recently. So he has said publicly, look, and I think he does. I think he wants to go to Florida State, but they did fire a few staff members, including Atkins, who he was very close with. And a week ago he was at Florida. Now he's at LSU today. So it's evident that he's at least taken a final look around before he signs in December. So one to keep on the radar, especially given that they lost Devin Harper to Ole Miss, who was one of their offensive line commitments. So if somehow they pull a rabbit out of the hat here and can get a Solomon Thomas, that makes up for that O-line loss that you suffered a few weeks ago.
Shay, we appreciate it. Thanks for the extra time. I know it's been a week for you. On 3 for all of the recruiting news. Shay, you guys do a great job. I know it's been a long week for you. So, like I said, thanks for the extra time, and we'll talk to you next week right after Thanksgiving.
Hey, Charlie, I've been through 5 for 5. I've been through multiple April Justin announcements with her son. I did Joe Mink. We've done this all. I'm good. I'm built for this. I will say my weekly reminder on 3 rankings, LSU's a top 5 class. So nothing. This is not, Bryce Underwood doesn't drop you out of the top 25 here. It is a great class coming in. Just got to hold on to it. And that means winning tonight too, Charlie.
Yeah, I announced Ryan Perilou at the Bash, who was up until the time that I announced that or that LSU got the paperwork about 15 minutes before that, a Texas commitment, if you remember that. Yep. So
that got and I'm sure you're up against Rick, that got the vote for when people in the modern era celebrated the most, on our board.
Yeah. Shay, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next week.
You got it, guys.
Take a break, come back. Matt Moscona joins us when we return here at Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. After Further Review on Game Day. After Further Review is heard weekday afternoons at 3 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now from AFR, here's Matt Moscona.
The Bears count down to kickoff about 3 hours and 10 minutes from right now, LSU and Vanderbilt. Matt, good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, Andy. Hey, Muse. What up, guys?
What up, dude?
Let me ask a very simple question. Do you think this game's important?
I mean, in the context of this season and big picture of the program, no. I think for the sanity of a lot of fans and possibly to help keep the 25 recruiting class together, yes. I mean, if you win the next 2 weeks, it quiets down some of the noise around Brian Kelly. It doesn't go away completely, but it quiets it down as they try to do work to finish the class. And I think the 2025 signing class is dramatically more important than the result of either of the next 2 games.
Does it drastically affect recruiting, or does it just affect, like you said, the noise around the program? For instance, I have no doubt that what Shea told us is true, that every school that's recruiting against you is going to use this as noise. But is it actually going to work? In other words, does a player that's recruited that is committed in this class right now really want to change where he's decided a long time ago he wanted to go to school just because LSU maybe loses a game to Vanderbilt tonight?
No, I think maybe in a different era, but everyone right now that we see that's being swayed is being swayed by money. We know the Bryce Underwood story. Devin Harper, who just flipped from LSU to Ole Miss. Ole Miss dumped a bag on him. We're looking at Jakeem Stewart, who's uncommitted. Michigan re-offered, and I was told that Michigan is throwing around stupid money for Jakeem Stewart to try to get in the mix there. I mean, they're not even one of his listed 4 finalists. It's hard to say because recruiting is such a case-by-case basis. But in the grand scheme, no. I don't think if LSU loses tonight or one of these next 2 games that it's going to affect where any recruit elects to go. But I do think it's something that teams will try to use against LSU, no doubt. But then again, look at tonight what happened with Ole Miss. Yeah. I mean, you're all you got to do is beat Florida and Mississippi State, and you're in the playoff. And they grabbed the throat again. So all the money that Ole Miss dumped into their program this season, another year without the playoff. So I think there's arguments to be made every way. But I think for the most part, the money is what's going to talk here down the stretch of these next 2 weeks.
I agree. And it becomes, right, a de facto salary cap. There isn't a hard cap in place by the NCAA or anything like that, but everybody's got a limit to what they are willing to pay. And I think that the fact that Underwood is 30 minutes away from the Michigan campus might not have mattered to him, but it mattered to the people there. We can't lose a local kid like that, of that talent. LSU is going to go through this 2 years from now with Elijah Haven. There's no way you can let that kid get out of Baton Rouge. If you've got the number 1 quarterback, maybe the number 1 player in the country 2 years from now, and he's at Dunham, you can't lose him. They couldn't lose Leonard Fournette. You can't. You couldn't lose Kevin Falk. There's certain guys you just can't lose. And for Michigan, that was, we got to call Oracle because we're in a bind. There are certain times where you got to pull out all the stops, and Underwood was that. If they hold it up right here, I think you're okay. I think this too shall pass. If over the next 10 days the bleeding continues, and that's why I think tonight's game is important, because it might start the dominoes. It shouldn't, but it might.
So I do agree on that they're okay if they stop the bleeding, because look, if losing Underwood sucks. Like these two things are not mutually exclusive. Like losing Underwood is terrible. I mean, you invested 3 years of resources into recruiting him, and you had him committed for a year, and because a school with a longer roster of billionaire boosters got super aggressive, now you don't have it, and you don't have a backup plan. The flip side of it is, I mean, look at the success you've had at quarterback in the last 15 years. It's all transfers. It's Mettenberger, it's Etling, it's Burrow, it's Daniels. 7 of the top 9 teams in college football right now are quarterbacked by transfers. Like, I would have loved to have seen Bryce Underwood come here. Like, that is a fact. I would also argue that fifth-year senior Garrett Nussmeier in 2025 is a better option than true freshman Bryce Underwood in 2025. And if Nuss comes back, it gives you a year it buys you a year to figure out what you're going to be to bridge to potentially getting Haven here. And maybe that includes, I'm sure it will include, a transfer quarterback in 2026. But you keep this class together, and then you look at the class in Louisiana for 26, and if they get active and really aggressive spending in the portal in this first portal window, I can put together a roster that looks like a playoff roster for 25 if you get Nussmeier back.
I'm glad I wrote that about Nussmeier on Monday before all this happens. It makes it a lot easier for me to say, well, yeah, I thought that Nussmeier should come back. I thought that would have been best for him, for LSU, and for Underwood, but that goes by the wayside right now. And you're right. There are quarterbacks to be bought in the transfer portal when you absolutely need one. And for anybody that says, well, how could they not have a backup plan? You can't have a backup plan when you have Bryce Underwood. I mean, there's just nobody's going to say, not only this year, but, probably scared off a fair amount of the 26 quarterbacks as well.
That's absolutely true. It's why they don't have an in for a 26 quarterback right now. Absolutely.
Matt, what does this mean for Joe Sloan?
Well, I think the one thing that Joe Sloan had going in his favor, and I mean singular, at a time where the head coach is very clearly acknowledged he is involving himself in play calling. The thing Joe Sloan had going for him was he was the Pied Piper with Bryce Underwood. He was the guy who had the relationship. And I think it's no secret in certain circles around LSU that Brian Kelly would like Tommy Rees on his staff. Tommy Rees, who he tried to hire when he got the job here, restayed at Notre Dame for a year, then with Alabama, and now is with the Cleveland Browns as a tight ends coach. But, I mean, I think it's very tenuous for Joe Sloan now. It's not been a balanced year, which Brian Kelly wants. There's someone who he covets more. And the thing that was, the linchpin for Sloan, Bryce Underwood's now gone. So, fair or unfair, I don't know. I don't get to make those rules, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if Brian Kelly got aggressive in this offseason and tried to get Tommy Rees to Baton Rouge as his OC.
Whiskey and wine?
Yeah, me and T-Bob will be there at Don Juan as soon as the game goes final. It'll be a late one, but like you need me to tell you it's going to be a late one. But hopefully it's a win, man. It's just it's not fun around here and hasn't been for a while. They need a win in the worst way, and seeing that line jump up today gives me a little hope that maybe the odds makers know something we don't.
Maybe there's a big effort in them. It's been about as rough a month as we've had here in probably 2 decades. So let's see if they can get that thing turned around. Scone, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next week when they play Oklahoma.
Okay, guys. See you.
We're brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. Listen, Thanksgiving is on Thursday. Try the new parboiled rice, no matter what the dish is that you're using rice for this Thanksgiving. About as close to restaurant quality rice as you're going to be able to get. The parboiled rice, grown, milled, and processed right here in Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, with that clean taste to it. You're really going to enjoy it. Also, the jasmine, the brown, the long grain, the medium grain. Make it Supreme Rice. Get more for your food dollar and support our Louisiana farmers. You can pick it up here at Rouse's or anywhere that you buy rice. They're also part of the Climate Smart program, ensuring that future generations of Louisiana farmers are taken care of. They're promoting methane emissions reductions and water conservation. For more information and great recipes, go to SupremeRice.com. Live here at Rouse's, Eagle 98.1.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Off the bench on Game Day. Presented by Shell. Shell is the rhythm of Louisiana. Off the Bench is heard weekday mornings at 7 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now from OTB, here's T-Bob Hebert.
There was a time when, I've always looked at like Browns fans, Jets fans, any consistently sad franchise. And I've always kind of been like, what in the hell, dude? Like, how do you continue to cheer for that team? How do you put an emotion and time into that team? And then at one point, during the middle of the game, watching another fourth quarter collapse, I just woke up and I was like, oh, wait, it's me. Like, I do that. I didn't realize I do it, but here I am. I do that. I had a similar feeling this morning when I'm like, okay, let's do like a statistical overview of Vanderbilt and just see where they rank in the SEC in a bunch of different, your kind of traditional stats. And I'll be damned. I know people will not agree with this. They'll point to talent, like recruiting rankings. They'll point to all this sort of stuff. But it is shocking at how similar Vanderbilt and LSU are on paper. Both are 6-4 in nearly every category, offensively and defensively. Both are right next to each other. It is, including a lot of the most important third down, opponent third down, turnover, like all it's a penalty. It's crazy. And sure, LSU has advantages in some areas, and Vanderbilt's ahead of you in others. But I know this is a game where we are thinking that LSU should be good. They're way better. I understand all of that. Like, you're at home. But I was a bit taken aback at just how, if you were an alien coming to this game and I put the data in front of you and you knew nothing about the brands or the history, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's gonna be a really good game. That's gonna be a tough battle between a couple of okay teams, good teams. Which is funny because we always talk about expectations, and here Vanderbilt sits. It's been an awesome year. Everybody loves them. They're one of the darlings. They're 6-4.
Yeah.
LSU, this has been a disastrous year. Objective failure is 6-4. But yeah, if you were coming to this game without any prior knowledge, you would think that these are two pretty damn even teams doing battle on Saturday night.
I mean, when you look at what it's been the last 5 games, I mean, you shouldn't be surprised, and fans should realize that this team can certainly come in here and beat you. I mean, you look at their last 5 times out, they beat Kentucky on the road, they beat Ball State, whatever, but then they play Texas, the number 3 team in the country, 27-24.
Yep.
They go on the road to Jordan-Hare and win 17-7 against Auburn, and then, against South Carolina, they take the loss there, 28-7. Certainly had moments in that game where, it was a one-score game. They couldn't make the play. But then you look at what you've been your last 5 games. It starts out great. Overtime victory against Ole Miss, going on the road against Arkansas. And then, as we know, the last 10 quarters, you just absolutely collapsed. And so fans should understand this Vanderbilt team can absolutely come in here and beat you.
Yep.
It is, they've got a quarterback that gives you issues. They've got a tight end that gives you issues. Defensively, Clark Lee, their head coach, is the one calling the defense, and they're not overly talented, but they are super sound in what they do.
Yeah, so just as far as where they rank, scoring offense, they're 11th. Scoring defense, they're 11th. You're barely ahead of them offensively, and you're right behind them defensively. Total offense, they're 15th. The only part that did surprise me, Jake, I do think of Vanderbilt as such a rushing team, and Diego Pavia is one of the better rushing quarterbacks in the league and maybe even the country. 13th in rush yards per game. So again, finding ways to win, but not really being too statistically dominant in any area. So 15th in total offense, 13 rush, 14th pass. In total defense, they're 12th. They're 8th against the runs, 12th against the pass. Now, they do play clean football. Yeah. They're 6th in penalties. They're 4th in turnover ratio. That is one of the areas in which they have a big advantage over you. Y'all are both very good at converting third downs. I believe you're first. They're third. However, they do allow opponents to convert a bit too much. 15th in terms of opponent third down percentage. They're 3rd in sacks, 9th in tiffles, 2nd in sacks allowed, 4th in tiffles allowed. Basically a lot like LSU, except LSU is much better at creating sacks. But still, again, a Vanderbilt team that is just solid, which for them is great, solid, but shockingly similar to an LSU team that we feel is bad, but maybe, is how do I say this? Just kind of good, just right above average, basically, statistically. What is the big, if Vandy is to come in here and create an upset?
Yep.
What is the path?
Diego Pavia goes off. He has a game like he had against Alabama. They make those type of plays where every time they needed a play, they made it. I think he's the kind of the key to everything that they get done. And if he comes in here, man, and he continues to create like he does, you've struggled. You have struggled against quarterbacks that have the ability to run the football. And he has that. And then when you overplay the ability from the quarterback to run the football, he can certainly make you pay down the field.
Yeah.
Like, he is the key to the entire game. Offense, defense, special teams, both sides. It's Diego Pavia.
And then to kind of reinforce my point here, somebody asked, what about time of possession? I realized I didn't look that up, so I just looked it up. Well, LSU second, Vanderbilt's third in time possession. So, again, the two teams really similar on paper in a lot of different ways. What do we think the crowd's going to be like Saturday?
80,000 people?
That's what I was
think
wondering.
that's being generous, too. I mean,
it's going to be a beautiful day probably, right? I'm just guessing. I mean, it finally felt like we had our first day of what I would say was winter today, which was great. But I imagine it's going to be a beautiful day / night in that stadium. Vanderbilt's better this year, but damn, so we don't even think we're going to hit. And we'll see. We'll see. I'll be interested to see the vibes.
What number do they announce compared to how many are in there?
I guess the more important point for us is how much of an advantage will that stadium be? Or if it's only like 80 and you can see all the empty seats, does that take a little juice away from this team? Like this team, I mean, granted, this team has to find it within themselves no matter what. And BK talked about that, and we can get to that here in a little bit. Some of the things he was talking about on the conference in terms of the conference call in terms of team morale and where kind of the team's head's at. But this is not going to be, after how you kind of failed everyone so mightily against Alabama, this is not going to be one of those games, I think, where you can rely on your stadium to lift you up.
Yeah.
I think you are going to have to do the lifting here. You are going to have to provide, like the stadium instead is going to say, no, you have to prove it to me. And we'll go from there.
Oh, yeah. You're lonely on the dance floor on this one.
Yeah.
Right now. If you win this, maybe Oklahoma goes back up. I don't know. But in this one, I think
Oklahoma will be crazy no matter what, probably, right? Final game of the season, couple big brands.
Maybe.
I would
I know a lot of Oklahoma
hope
people
so.
are traveling to this one.
Yeah, I would hope so. That would be uber disappointing if Oklahoma wasn't really nice. But who knows, man? Hell hath no fury like a college football fan scorned. And LSU fans are feeling pretty scorned right now.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206 9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
The best kept secret in town is
98.1. The dependable Storage College Football Scoreboard. Dependable Storage. Let us store your stuff. DependableStorage.com.
Big 12 takes center stage here in the 2:30 window. Kansas leads Colorado 20-14. 23 seconds to go. Kansas is playing second down and goal at the Colorado 2. Jayhawks have had the ball for better than 21 minutes in this first half, but lead it by only 6 as Jalen Daniels is scrambling around and in a lot of trouble and has thrown an incomplete pass. All right. The other game that has Big 12 championship implications is Arizona State. They lead BYU 21-3 in the Valley of the Sun. That game is at the half. Bowling Green leads Ball State 31-13 as we go with fourth quarter scores here. UAB leads Rice 40-14. It's New Mexico State over Middle Tennessee 33-21. App State leads James Madison 31-20. Third quarter scores: TCU leads Arizona 28-13. Florida International leads Kennesaw State 26-17. UL Monroe and Arkansas State tied at 14. South Alabama leads Southern Miss 21-11. Kicker for Southern Miss made a 60-yard field goal. That is one off of the school record that was set by,
oh Lord,
Ray Guy, way before your time.
Yeah, I would have never done that.
Hall of Famer Ray Guy made a 61-yarder in the snow in Utah.
That's
back
really
in
good.
1971. Thanks, Nugget, for that nugget. Charlotte is leading Florida Atlantic 19-10. Texas has just scored again. They lead Kentucky 21-7. Quinn Ewers is throwing a couple of touchdown passes. The junior went through senior day ceremonies today.
Yeah. What does that tell you?
That he's not going to be around to be a senior. Minnesota leads number 4 Penn State 19-16. They are less than 20 seconds to go to the break in Minneapolis. Let's see what else we got. Number 17 Clemson leads the Citadel 35-0. That's at the half. Other halftime scores: Michigan leads Northwestern 17-6. Nebraska over Wisconsin 24-10. Stanford leads Cal 14-7. Texas Tech leads Oklahoma State 21-14. West Virginia leads UCF 21-7. Utah State leads San Diego State 14-13. Georgia Southern leads Coastal Carolina 13-3. North Texas leads East Carolina 21-7. Second quarter scores: South Florida leads Tulsa 42-7. Number 18 South Carolina leads Wofford 14-3. Arkansas leads Louisiana Tech 7-0. Louisville leads Pittsburgh 17-0. Missouri, number 23 in the country, leads Mississippi State 14-10. First quarter score: UL Lafayette and Troy have just started. Raging Cajuns are inside the 20-yard line. Earlier finals today: number 2 Ohio State beat number 5 Indiana 38-15. Will Howard threw a couple of touchdown passes for Ohio State, who returned a punt for a touchdown. Also had a punter mishandle a snap for Indiana that gave him a touchdown at point-blank range, and Ohio State moves to 10-1, hands Indiana their first loss of the season. Number 8 Miami leads beat Wake Forest 42-14. Couple of touchdown passes for Cam Ward. They keep pace with number 13 SMU, who won 33-17 today. Kevin Jennings threw for 323 yards and 2 touchdowns. Those two teams on a collision course in the ACC championship game. Florida pulled a big upset over number 9 Ole Miss 24-17. Jackson Dart threw a couple of interceptions in the fourth quarter as Ole Miss's playoff hopes likely extinguished with their third loss. Number 10 Georgia easy over UMass 59-21. 4 touchdown passes for Carson Beck. Number 11 Tennessee easy over UTEP 56-0. Number 25 Illinois beat Rutgers 38-31, 23-14 in the fourth quarter. 37 points in the fourth quarter. Iowa goes to 7-4. They beat Maryland 29-13. Syracuse gets their 8th win. They beat UConn 31-24. Boston College gets bowl eligible. They beat North Carolina 41-21. Jacksonville State beat Sam Houston 21-11. Liberty over Western Kentucky 38-21. And Florida State picked up their first win since September, a 41-7 win over 1 and now 11 Charleston Southern.
Knowles.
Is that that's the end of the season for Charleston Southern, right? 1-11.
Yeah.
And Florida State will end their season next week against Florida.
Oh,
what a turnaround there. We'll take our break here at Rouse's, your game day headquarters for everything that you need for tailgating and everything you need for Thanksgiving. Rouse's here, Burbank and Lee. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Opposing Media. Presented by Rev. Rev. Fiber fast internet made in Louisiana.
Chris Lee, VandySports.com. Chris, how are you, man?
Doing well, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Always our pleasure. Give me a vibe check, Chris. I mean, they're 6-4, but this 6-4 for Vanderbilt feels dramatically different than LSU's 6-4. So what's it like in Nashville right now?
I think from the Alabama game on, there's just been a buzz around the program that hasn't gone away. And you saw it start to come a little bit to a screeching halt against South Carolina. I mean, they got beaten by a better team. It was a bad matchup. I think you can see that they were kind of running on fumes that game, and I think the bye week was nice. But, you know, they haven't had a winning season since 2013 season, and they played in a bowl game that actually stretched to 2014, and then James Franklin left them after that game. And they've been to a couple of bowls since, but they've not had a winning season. And I think especially after the Auburn game, that got them bowl eligible. Like, okay, that's something they've not done in a while. And excuse me as I move away from the barking dog.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
But
that's just life, man. It happens.
Yeah, but anyway, you know, I think the next thing is just to get that 7th win. I don't think at this point people care how it comes or when it comes. You know, but obviously it came at LSU. That's not something they do often, to beat LSU anywhere, anytime, anywhere. If they beat Tennessee, that's got its own significance. It could really have its own significance. You know, if Tennessee's on the verge of playoff, which it should be, barring something crazy against UTEP. But even then, you go win a bowl game. I don't care who you beat. You know, you're 7-6, and that's not something that happens a lot. So I think really, since they beat Alabama and since they beat Auburn, they're in position to do things they haven't done in a while. And, you know, just the feeling that you actually have a shot anymore. And Matt, it's different now with NIL and the portal. And part of the story is that they have rebuilt with guys that they found in the portal, and that they're players there and they've got some money to spend. So all of a sudden the feeling of, and you probably heard it, Paul Feinbaum said before the season, they had the conversation, they won their last SEC game. And I thought, you know, it's an interesting question with the way where the landscape is headed, but it feels like now it's gone from that to suddenly, hey, we've got a chance to maybe compete this year and beyond.
Chris Lee's with us, VandySports.com. I want to talk about how they got the roster to this point, but let me ask first, because you did touch on something about how they ran out of fumes against South Carolina. Listen, I was on Vanderbilt in that game. I thought that was a classic case of people still looking at the logo on the helmet and not the team, why Vanderbilt was a home underdog in that game. And I was wrong. South Carolina went and ran right over them. What happened in that game?
If you watched the Auburn game, you could see them running out of fumes. Like the way that they beat teams, and even this happened against Texas. You know, Diego Pavia scores their first touchdown on a 3rd and 17, and he goes for 18 or whatever it was. And like they would make plays like that just at the right time to beat teams. First drive of the game, you see him try to get outside on one of those 3rd and 6 type things, and it just felt like he was running quicksand. And then they tried to get the ball to Cedric Alexander to let him do some things. Their tailback is good, not great. And he just didn't look like he had any burst. And you're just going, okay, if they're going to win this one today, it's got to be their defense. And their defense has played much better and basically won them the Auburn game. Pavia had to make 2 or 3 plays. You know, they didn't complete a pass second or third quarter in that game, which was a bad sign. And then they make the plays at the end. And, you know, and some of it may have just been Auburn not knowing how to beat anybody right now. But it was what it was. And I just saw that and I thought, you know, if he doesn't have the burst that he's had to break these plays, I don't know what else they've got left. And then you throw them up against a super athletic and talented front seven that's just littered with NFL players. And, you know, then their defense got tired. Rocket Sanders kind of ran them over. It's one of those days that, like, I think if they played again with a couple weeks rest, it's not that lopsided. I think South Carolina wins, but I think it was a combo of a bad opponent on a bad day.
Did you expect Pavia to be as good as he has been?
No. In fact, I got beat around a little bit by our audience because we go to practice and they just couldn't move the ball. I just thought this is going to be one of those years where it could get really ugly. Maybe the defense wins them some games. And, you know, there's always things you got in the back of your head, right? First of all, it's fall camp, and so he's taking reps, and sometimes he's doing it with a third team right tackle is not going to play or whatever. But it just never looked really good for any long period of time. Now, you go back and think about it. The defense probably had a pretty good idea of what they're running, which every week they play teams that aren't used to seeing it. And so I think as soon as they flipped the switch and played somebody else, it changed. I think he's also, to be fair, his reputation as being one of those kids who, when the lights come on at the game time, he takes his level of performance up a couple of notches. That was out there too, but it's one thing to do that in New Mexico State. It's another thing to do it in the SEC. It's hard to believe it completely till you see it. But starting with that Virginia Tech game, you could see it.
Chris Lee's with us, VandySports.com. Pavia has gotten all the headlines, rightfully so. So he's a Davey O'Brien and Maxwell semifinalist. I mean, he's He's brought Vanderbilt to a level I don't think any of us thought they could be, certainly not this year. But you mentioned some of the hits in the portal. Where else did they go in the portal, Chris, to find impact guys that have contributed to Vanderbilt being bowl eligible and having a real feeling like they can come into Baton Rouge and win this weekend?
They've got 3 starting offensive linemen that they got in the portal. None of them are stars, but they're better than what they had. And they're really old guys. I think you've got maybe a 5th-year guy, a 6th-year guy, and I can't think of what the other guy is, but I think he's in that range too. You've got a tight end in Eli Stowers who's really, really good. I think a top 5 tight end in the country. I would think he's going to get drafted in the top 4 or 5 rounds coming up in the spring. He played with Pavia at New Mexico State, so there's familiarity. He was a top 100 recruit out of high school, signed with A&M as a quarterback. So I think those are some of the big ones. But, we don't spend any time talking about special teams, and their special teams are really, really good. You're seeing the punter they had last year down there in New Orleans, Matt Hayball. They got a kid who replaced him. I thought, there's no way this kid's going to be as good as what they lost. And he's not, but he's really close. He's probably going to be one of the better punters in the country at year's end. They've got, and these aren't transfers, but they got a field goal kicker who's, I think, missed 1 kick in 2 months. He hit 5 from over 50. They've got a punt returner who's really good. Both those guys aren't in the portal, but they've got some little pieces here and there that you might not notice, but have really made a splash and upgraded their talent and has really helped them get there.
Chris, specifically on Saturday night against LSU, which side of the ball, just with what you know outside looking at LSU and then obviously what Vanderbilt's been able to do this year, which side of the ball do you think is more equipped for Vanderbilt to have success? Is it Vanderbilt's offense or defense?
It's hard for me to answer without knowing which LSU I get. Because I thought that team I saw a month ago was really good. Had a chance to get the playoffs. They gave up, 7 sacks or whatever it was last week. I don't think anybody had that on their radar. I mean, I'm not saying they quit, and I didn't get to see a lot of the game. But to me, when you are that far off your level of performance, when nobody can get to your quarterback, that begs some questions. I'm just really interested in, how interested is LSU in being there? Because if they're not, they can get beat for sure. But I think the defense has gotten better. They found a pass rush in spurts. I wouldn't have even thought to say that's a spot that they could maybe make some plays against LSU. But if their pass pro isn't better, then they could force a fumble or two. They could pick off a pass or two. And I think the big thing is you just get Pavia healthy and you get that burst back. He can give anybody problems. I think it feels like if they are more back to full health, their offense, when they are clicking, can give anybody problems. That feels like the right answer. But again, I'm not quite sure what they're getting on the other line of scrimmage on Saturday night.
Where do you think Vanderbilt, fully healthy Vanderbilt, where are they most vulnerable?
Well, I mean, their offense, they've been under 300 yards total offense the last 4 SEC games. That's one thing. They just have not been able to mount much of a rushing offense outside of Pavia. So, you think maybe with the week off, they get him healthier, they get Alexander healthier. Maybe there's a burst there you haven't seen in a while. I think their defense has been vulnerable in spots. It's not been really bad consistently against the run or the pass, but you've seen spots where it showed up, like Rocket Sanders had a field day against him. Nate Noel at Missouri had a field day against him. Hadn't been a lot of big rushing games in between, but there's been spurts where teams found something and exposed it, and they paid for it. Long passing plays have been an issue for them at times, although less of an issue lately other than maybe the Texas game. I don't know that there's been a common thread of a place where they have spun leaks, but you have seen it when teams can figure out, hey, we can run against them. Their defensive linemen are not Georgia's. You do occasionally see an opponent that's able to just kind of fixate on something, and they may not have the talent to stop it of the team that's doing it to them.
Hey, Chris, before you go, what is Clark Lee's blueprint in this game? If they get to the 7th win and win in Baton Rouge, how do they think it looks?
I think it looks like pretty much all the other games they've won. I think they average 62 snaps on offense. They average 61 on defense. I think that's the lowest total snap in the league. They're going to run that play clock down to 2 or whatever before every snap. I think that's one thing that's been a common theme with them. I think the other thing is turnover margin. I think all the SEC games they've won, they've either been plus in turnovers or been break even at the worst. I don't think they've been negative and won a game yet. So I would say that and really good special teams play. Like, do they hit a couple of field goals? Do they pin a team at a punt at the 2 or something like that? Those are all things that when they're winning and it's going right, that they usually do in games that they win.
He's Chris Lee, VandySports.com. Check it out there. Vanderbilt comes into Baton Rouge for the first time since 2009. Be interesting to say the least. Chris, we appreciate the time as always, man. Have a great one.
Hey, thanks, Matt.
It's our pleasure.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day, presented by Super Chevy. Talkin' Tigers. Talkin' Tigers. Offensive lineman Will Campbell.
Outside the building, well, at the end of the day, if you don't win a championship here, it's a failure. And
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
98.1 Eagle 98.1 Game Day, presented by Super Chevy. Talkin' Tigers. Talkin' Tigers. Offensive lineman Will Campbell.
outside the building, well, at the end of the day, if you don't win a championship here, it's a failure. And I agree with that. But we still have a lot to play for. 6-6 is a lot worse than 8-4. So we have to go win 2 more games. And, everybody else can doubt us, all that. But we know what we have to do to finish this year on the right way and get into a good bowl game and do what we have to do. And that's really the bottom line.
Defensive tackle Gio Paez.
Honestly, every single week we try to just come in with a new mindset, a clean slate, if you will. We're not really trying to warp on the past. We're trying to execute our game plan in terms of what Coach Baker has planned for us. And kind of just do it to the best of our ability.
Tight end Mason Taylor.
I mean, it's disappointing, especially here at LSU, but what's in front of us is Vanderbilt and 2, potentially 3 more games. But I think it's just sticking to our process, and everyone is on the same page. No one's pointing fingers, all that stuff. I mean, we had a really good locker room this past week, and I think I'm just building off of that and just finding out what we're doing wrong, and learning from that is a big building moment for this program and for us, for sure.
Defensive lineman Paris Shand.
They have a lot of different runs when it comes to their offense. You know, they got like the power, QB power read, and a lot of reads and triple option and stuff like that. They like the quick pass, so I think it's big for us to stop the run and forcing them to get uncomfortable and have to throw the ball and hold the ball, because they'll throw it, but it's a lot of quick throws, so forcing them to have to really drop back and do the things that they're not accustomed to.
Offensive lineman Will Campbell.
We're just talking things out, and everybody get on the same page. And we've been in a situation to win a lot of games, but at the end of the day, we have to finish, and that's the thing. You go back and look. We've led going into the fourth quarter out of 3 of the 4 losses that we have. We have to finish games, and that's something that we haven't done. And it's not a coaching problem. It's not a scheme. It's none of that. It's us. We have to be able to do the little things right. And when you don't deserve to win, quite frankly. Whenever you have, I think against Florida, we had 13 negative plays. You don't deserve to win an SEC football game on the road in a hostile environment against a good football team with a good coaching staff. It's just not what it is. This isn't high school football. So if we want to win, we have to do the little things right for 4 straight quarters.
Defensive tackle Gio Paez.
We knew going into Florida week that they're going to try to run the ball and try to establish that run game, and I feel like we answered that call well. They had one breakout run, I think, that put them over 100 yards later in the 3rd or 4th, but up until that point, we had like 50 yards rushing. I don't know on how many carries, but I think we answered that really well. That's obviously going to be another thing this week that we're going to have to really just dig our boots in the ground and chop away at that.
Tight end Mason Taylor.
That's something we've done well every single game, but just seeing how those little mistakes keep biting us, and we know we can't do those type of things, and we see the outcomes of these games, so just correcting those little things. And like you said, we move the ball pretty well, but what are we not doing in the red zone or when we get past the 50? So coach has done a great job this week already kind of doing new things to help us move the ball in those areas of the field, and we know we gotta put points on the board at the end of the day.
Defensive lineman Paris Shand.
Nobody likes to lose. That's evident in any competitor. But when it comes to attacking this week, everyone's morale is up, and we feel like we have a challenge behind it, and we have to do whatever it takes to get on the other side of the streak that we're on. So the morale in the locker room has been good. The leaders are stepping up and doing what needs to be done, and I think we're headed in the right direction.
Talking Tigers, Eagle 98.1, Game Day.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day inside the stadium. Presented by Louisiana Federal Land Bank. Louisiana Federal Land Bank. They're experts in rural land and equipment lending.
The Bears count down to kickoff about 2 hours and 15 minutes. We go down to Tiger Stadium now. Check in with the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Chris, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm great, Charlie. Another exciting, crazy weekend of college football. But the good news is it appears that Coach Kiffin doesn't have to worry about that silly SEC title game.
He doesn't have to worry. Probably don't have to worry about the playoff either. You know, Chris, this has been a rough week. I think everybody would agree it's been a rough stretch for the Tigers. You know, this is where, to me, a coach with Brian Kelly's experience can be invaluable. He's been through rough spots before. They need him to step up and lead here. He knows what to do here in this situation, because a lot of times when the noise gets this loud around you and a few breaks, you know, a few things go against you, it can be tough to turn it around. He knows how to do this. He's been in this spot before.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's certainly, I think, what is the benefit to having a coach like Coach Kelly with over 30 years, and certainly has been through some tough times. It's not as if every season he's coached has gone exactly according to plan. And you're right. I mean, you've lost 3 in a row. You haven't lost 4 in a row as an LSU football team since 1999. That goes back a few ways. You had the stuff earlier in the week leading into signing day, and then that was a huge blow. And as you said, I mean, you know, nobody is going to feel sorry for LSU, certainly not anybody outside of that football building, outside of this fan base. They love it. I mean, the rest of the country loves it. The rest of the SEC loves this. So to me, you just got to get the guys today and say, look, the only thing we can control is tonight's game. And we haven't played very well in the last 3 games, certainly the last 2.5. And, you know, this is a Vanderbilt team who, you know, they're coming in trying to get their first winning season since 2013. And they're not going to feel sorry for what all has happened on the field and outside of the field. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, and listening to the players this week, Charlie, I know you guys listen to them as well. You got the players only meeting. Sometimes that gives this appearance of things are going wrong. But when they came out to the media session, the guys are like, look, this is on us. We got to go out and execute. We got to beat the guy across from us. And we haven't done that for 10 quarters now. And so I'm interested to see how they come out, because to me, Vanderbilt's a dangerous team. They got a quarterback in Pavia who is full of moxie, he's full of confidence, he loves to run his mouth. If LSU just comes out and does, you know, what we've seen them do multiple times this year, home and away, you put the doubt in Vanderbilt's mind, put the game out of reach as soon as you can, and then you get ready for Oklahoma next week. That's the only thing this team can do with everything else that is going on around it.
Let me tell you something about that 1999 season. It was a miserable year, okay, pretty much from jump that season. But in the last game of the year, they played Arkansas, and they went out. Now, okay, I don't want to misrepresent here. They made a coaching change, okay? DiNardo didn't coach the last game. But the players went out in the last game with an interim coach, and they went out and said, you know what, let's just have fun. And we know Rohan Davey, who's a quarterback on that team, and they just went out and had fun. And they blew the doors off of a very good Arkansas team in that last game. My point is, and I know that they're not obviously making a coaching change, but the players can decide. They can decide, hey, you know what, we're just going to go out and block everything else out that's happened before and everything that, is going to happen in the next couple of weeks with the portal and sign down. We're just going to go win today. They did it in 99, and that season was way worse than this one, Chris. So they've got that possibility. They've got that capability tonight and next week if they wanted.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of times you hear coaches say, and you hear players say, for good reason, you play for the name on the front of the chest. Well, I think that's true. That should be first and foremost, Charlie. But if you've ever played competitive sports, at some point you need to play for what's on the front, but you also at some point got to play for what's on the back. And listening to the players this week, they didn't play their best. I mean, Will Campbell said it, during his media session. They didn't block as well as they have in previous games. They didn't catch balls that were catchable that they had in previous games. They didn't make the right read or the right throw the way they have, but they can. So I think, it's one of those where you don't want to say, hey, go play for yourself. But at some point you got to find some pride and go out and fight, regardless of what everything else has happened over the last 3 weeks. And, that's what I'm most interested to see tonight. And frankly, Charlie, I think we'll see it early. If it's going to happen, it will happen early.
And, believe me, I'm not expecting anything close to what we had against Alabama. The stadium was electric that night. It didn't happen. This is more of a diehards. There's not going to be as many people in the stadium as there was that night. The weather's good. That helps. But it's got to be a self-motivation type thing. You're not gonna get that atmosphere again tonight. What's Coach Kelly's kind of demeanor on Thursday? I know he's disappointed, and Thursday, the recruiting stuff was a particularly difficult gut punch. But like I said, he knows when things are down what to do. How would you describe him on Thursday night coach's show?
I think he was kind of the sense, and I get an idea that this week, even prior to the things that took place on Thursday, I think he was like, guys, this is what life will hand you. Whether you're playing college football, whether you move on to play in the NFL, whether you work wherever your field ends up being in 5 to 10 years, you're going to have days like this. You're going to have weeks like this, and in this case, you're going to have months like this. You've got to find a way to put all of that behind you, and you can't start thinking about this or that. We had to prepare this week. And again, I go back to what Will said. Everybody's upset about the performance at Florida. Certainly just not happy with what happened here at home when everything was going your way against Alabama, and then you played as poorly as you did. But they have to concentrate on Vanderbilt. And the only thing they can take care of is this. And, that's what, Coach Kelly even apologized to me on the show. He said, Chris, I hate to keep bringing this up, but this is when people are challenged and you're knocked down on the ground, how do you get yourself back up? And, he said he felt like the team had put Florida behind them and had prepared and practiced extremely well this week. And I think that's what he relies on. I mean, he said it multiple times. I'm here to develop young men. Yes, we want to win football games. We want to win every one of them. But my job as a coach and an educator is to prepare these guys for whether it's the NFL or whether it's, working wherever they go, that it's not always roses and it's not always everybody cheering for you. And certainly I think they've got a taste of that over the last several weeks. So the only way you can even start to change the narrative is to go out and do what you know to do. And, again, I think of the offensive line last Saturday. They had two guys with limited experience, super talented, but limited experience that had to come in the majority of the game and play at guard. But if you're Will Campbell and you're Emory Jones Jr., you've got to still do your job. You can't worry about doing the other guy's job. And I think at times Saturday, that was kind of what was happening. And, the good news is I don't think there was finger pointing this week. I think it was, hey, I got my job to do, and I'm promising you, the guy next to me, that I'll do mine. You do the same. You do your job.
Since you're on the subject, Dellinger and Frazier, you got the latest on their availability?
I asked earlier when I got to campus, and, again, they said it was literally they're going to take a look at them in pregame warm-ups, and it will be that type of true game day decision. Yeah. So I'll tell you, I may be the glass half full guy, but I was told, make sure they're still on your charts. So they are on my charts. They're in gray, but hopefully they'll be ready to go.
All right, what's coming up on Network Pregame?
Well, we'll just have, again, trying to, Brandon, Marlon, and Hunt, I'm sure they're still going to we're going to try their best not to harp too much on Florida, and hopefully they have put that away as well. And then kind of figure out, what's the best way to handle, Diego Pavia. And, I was talking to Hunt just a couple of minutes ago, and it was kind of like which, especially defensively, which team are we going to see? Are we going to see the team that played in Fayetteville, or are we going to see the team that has played the last 10 quarters? And that, to me, it will be key. Again, the offense has to score more than 3 touchdowns in 10 quarters, and they got to get back on track. But it could be a long night if Pavia is able to, again, run the ball, throw the ball. I think the key will be obviously making him hold the ball a little bit, which is going to put a lot of pressure on our secondary because typically they get the ball out quick. But if you can make him have to stay in the pocket, even move the pocket and take some time, I like Swinson's chances and Savion's chances and even Week's chances to maybe get a hit on him.
One more thing before we let you go. Men's hoops tomorrow from the Greenbrier. No Saints tomorrow, so got a chance to listen to and watch some LSU hoops tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I really think that, it's a big weekend. That's a very good tournament. Those 4 teams that are there are teams that I think have a possibility to make noise in their respective conferences and ultimately be NCAA teams. And so, Coach Matt McMahon said the improvement this year had to be in the month of November and December because, you look at it last year, they were good enough in the SEC to actually get to the NCAA tournament, but they dropped some tough ones. So they'll play some good competition, and, they came up short against Pitt yesterday. But I think, if they get the win tomorrow, they go 1-1 there. I think that's a pretty good weekend for them. So, yeah, they'll be getting it underway, I think, 2 o'clock Central.
2 o'clock Central. Okay, that was my last question. Chris, have a great call. We'll talk to you next week for the regular season finale.
You got it, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a time out, come back, get you up to date on the scores. Live from Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206
98.1. The Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln College Football Scoreboard. Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln on airline under the giant American flag.
All right, games in progress, headed to the fourth quarter with Arizona State leading 21-9 over BYU. Over at Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas holding a 23-21 lead, but that game is early in the third quarter. Big 12 championship ramifications all over the place in those two games. Fourth quarter scores: TCU leads Arizona 42-21. Florida International leads Kennesaw State 26-17. Arkansas State leads UL Monroe 28-21. South Alabama leads Southern Miss 35-14. Florida Atlantic leads Charlotte 27-26. Number 3 Texas leads Kentucky 24-7. That's a third quarter score. Other third quarter scores: Minnesota's added a field goal. They lead Penn State 22-16. 7 minutes to go in the third quarter there. Number 17 Clemson leads the Citadel 42-7. Michigan leads Northwestern 31-6. Nebraska leads Wisconsin 34-10. Dana Holgerson calling plays. Stanford leading Cal 21-7. Texas Tech and Oklahoma State tied at 28. West Virginia leads UCF 28-14. Utah State leads San Diego State 21-13. Georgia Southern leads Coastal Carolina 16-6. East Carolina leads North Texas 24-21. South Florida leads Tulsa 42-7. Number 18 South Carolina leads Wofford 21-9. Arkansas leads La Tech 14-0. Halftime score: Louisville over Pitt 27-0. Also at the half, number 23 Missouri leads Mississippi State 28-13. And early in the second quarter, Troy and UL Lafayette are tied at 14. Back to wrap it up here from Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
The best kept secret in town is
98.1.
Wrapping up here at Rouse's. I said at the beginning of the show, this could mean everything or it could mean nothing. Just depends on your perspective of this. In the standings, when we're 10 years down the line, very unlikely we'll be talking about this game. But from a perception standpoint of how you react, how you handle adversity, how you want to finish this season for the players, for the coaches, staying focused with obviously a lot of other things on their mind, what kind of effort you put out there tonight, what kind of focus you play this game with. It could mean everything, it could mean nothing. For Vanderbilt, this is a chance to build on what's been a really good season for Vanderbilt. And if they can add LSU to Alabama on their list and Auburn, when's the last time Vanderbilt beat LSU, Alabama, and Auburn in the same year? We should probably look that up before the show, but not often. Maybe probably never, to be honest with you. So you know that there is a certain element of pride there that they want to keep this season going. They're coming off of a bye. So you're going to have to deal with a less than sellout crowd. You're going to have to deal with a capable opponent. You're going to have to deal with a lot of outside distractions. What do you bring tonight, Musso?
Yeah. No, that's it. You know what, Henny? Look, I think it means a lot. I really do. I think LSU has to win this football game. It would just be you talk about rock bottom. It'd feel very rock bottom if you lose tonight. I think you got to win it on offense. So, yeah, bring it tonight. It's up to you.
Whiskey and Wine immediately following LSU and Vanderbilt. 90 minutes after the end of the game, myself and Gordy Rush makes his return to post-game. He'll be sitting in for Richard Dixon tonight. We'll be taking your phone calls 90 minutes after the end of the game. Thanks to the folks here at Rouse's. From all of us here, everybody back at the flagship, I'm Charles Hannigrove saying thank you and good afternoon from Rouse's. This has been Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Let's see it.